soon.
All right, we're live. Welcome to the final round of the Roger Hale Chess Celebration money round. Got Jonathan Giurgiu, National Master, here to do some nice commentary. Thank you for joining.
Thank you.
And yeah, so this is.
And
Let me pull up the standings really quick before we get into the game analysis. Just talk through what the current situation is. So, looks like Sammy is in clear first place, 4 out of 4, doing his usual run to a potential 5-0. But Dane Matson going to do his best to strike back. So we got a 3-way tie for second right now with 3.5 points between Joseph Chengwan, Dane Matson, and Arvind. And Arvind having an excellent tournament, especially in this field. And we got Dane against Sammy on board 1. So, if Dane beats Sammy, he's going to win the tournament outright. So that's going to be a big opportunity. And if we have the more rating expected result of Sammy doing his usual 5-0, then Arvind is actually going to have a really excellent chance to potentially win second outright. We would just have Sol first, Sol second. Especially surprising in 5-rounder, where used to seeing big shared pools of winners at the top before that 6th round can really shake things out. So interesting. Then a big field of players at 3 points, including a lot of the favorites. Although Irene Fey also having an excellent tournament, even with the loss last round, 2 upsets, 3 upsets maybe. So yeah, very interesting tournament. Looks like Sammy's on his way to a win, not too unexpected with that 24.56 rating, showing how you get a rating like that. But any comments from you on the current standings?
Not really. I mean, just a bunch of unexpected results, especially from Irene. I was watching yesterday and was pretty impressed by the result, especially against OK.
Yeah, I mean, her rating's got to be climbing from this tournament for sure. So she's going to be someone to watch out for. And those games are pretty much one-sided from what I could tell. So interesting. Gonna have to watch out for her games. So with that, let's get into this round's games. So we've got the main board up now. And here's board 1 for the tournament.
So it's surprising that we're starting pretty late, but I mean, I don't know what happened, but it would be interesting to see the reason. Well, let's see how Samrug is doing. So pretty typical setup with the structure. I think this is his opening. B6, okay. Okay, ooh, G3 here. Now, I wouldn't be expecting this sort of move. I don't know if it's prep. Causing so many holes is not something I'll be doing without some actual preparation beforehand. This reminds me of like some Sicilian structures where like play E6 and A6, just in reverse color. But with G3 move here, I mean, already I'm kind of worried. Let's see if the computer... Okay, computer says it's 0 so far. So it's not the end of the world yet. Okay, so far developing moves. And castling. Okay, so Sam got his setup. I've seen this in, I think, I think in the first round he had a pretty similar setup, so he's doing what he knows best, his openings. And White has some interesting setup here. And I just have to see how it's gonna turn out. Is White gonna play d4 or is he gonna keep this bishop open? Develop maybe like this. Maybe he's gonna play d3. We'll see about that. Okay, let's move on to the board 2.
Yeah, I wonder if Dane's kind of an every game ready, knight f3 c4 player and going for those structures, or if this is kind of a strategy for this game.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I mean, we can tell by the time if he starts thinking for very long, then really something he prepared, I guess. So we have board 2 here with Ionatan, c4, c5. Okay.
Arvin needs a win here, but this is going to be a tall task, winning with black against Andrew Titus. But
yeah, I mean,
would be
with such a short tournament, any method would pretty much, especially in this round, would determine the results. Because there's so many people on 3.5. If Sam doesn't win, he'll be way off a cliff. Okay, let's see here. Andrew playing the Sicilian. Okay. Just a normal knight or Sicilian. We'll see how that goes. My prediction, Andrew's going to play... Actually, I don't know what he plays. Maybe with 5 or something like that. We'll see.
Yeah, Arvin plays a good amount of Nightorf.
Why is... Wait a second. I'm just thinking over here. That's surprising. I mean, maybe he went to the bathroom, or... I mean, sometimes Andrew shows up late, but... played 3 moves, so he's there.
Yep, hard to get moves on the board if you're not there yet.
Yeah, if you're late, unless you wrote down, I don't know. If you can write down your prediction for the opening and just automatically play those moves.
Yeah, like daily chess on chess.com. Pre-plan all your responses.
Okay.
All right, next game here.
Okay, so we have Nathan Hoover and Henry speed at rating. E4, E5, of course. Nathan Hoover plays E5 principled chess. Okay, so against Bishop C4, yeah, I haven't seen Nathan Hoover against Bishop C4 yet. But okay, so he plays the Knight of Bishop. Now this, of course, allows the fried liver sort of attack with Knight G5. But it's not losing. But White decides to play D3 and go into a boring game. I mean, it's gonna be exciting at some point, but Knight G5 is what I think of as the exciting lines. Bishop C5, C3, 6. Bishop B3. Now, I'm assuming this is prep. I mean, I guess maybe Knight A5 is a problem. Knight A5 can always reroute the bishop this way. Cool.
Well, Nathan pretty well prepared, but plays all sorts of different things.
Yeah, you're the expert on the E4, E5. I know you said Rui Lopez, but do you have any idea why it's okay to play bishop? Like why you'd want to play bishop B3 first? Maybe you're delaying castling.
Yeah, I actually,
for some reason,
when I was deciding between playing Rui or Italian, I decided to go for the Rui because I heard Italian is just way too nuanced. It's super GM things for the reasons why you do one thing versus another. So versus Rui kind of carves itself into separate tabias that then have their own associated plans. So yeah, definitely not gonna claim like I know the nuances of when or when not to play bishop b3 in the Italian, because haven't actually touched that since I was a child. For a while, I was playing move 2 antis,
Yeah,
like
but
knight c3 and d4.
well, for me, the Italian is how you at least get a chance to make some crazy things happen on the board. Like you can, in the Italian, you can play c3 and d4 right away. You have the fried liver stuff. Get a really messy game and imbalanced game right away. That's why I chose the Italian.
Yep, and it
Yeah,
is
that's
the
that's
choice
what I play usually.
of most super GMs. So Italian is definitely not.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. I mean, if you're gonna play d3, I mean, I feel like it just turns into like a Ruy Lopez with the structure, though. But you have at least the options to break open, and they don't know the theory. You can get a very bad position. Okay, so bishop b3. Okay, bishop b6. So we're both retreating.
Yeah.
Very quickly. Okay, d2. So far, just developing. Nothing too special. There's many ways to do it. Okay, bishop b6. Common idea in these.
Yeah. Got.
I mean, if he takes and you take back and you get control over some of the key squares, and you get to open up to your rook. This is what happened in the third round against Andrew Titus. Well, Andrew Titus against Nathan Hoover, and it was a good game. But
yeah, I think pretty double edged
so
because
far,
sometimes can get at that pawn with knight g5, queen g4 type moves. I don't think in this position that's possible, but I definitely like doing it as black myself. I like that open F file. Seems like a lot of times in closed Sicilian as well it happens. And then sometimes can even get rook takes f3 sacrifices, get big kingside attacks. So definitely not something that I hate doing with the black pieces. Maybe with the white pieces don't like ruining my structure as much, but black pieces, hey, if I can compromise my structure a little bit but get a lot of activity, awesome, because it's a lot harder to get activity with black.
and of course, in the third round game, Nathan did take, and we got an interesting game. He took on e3, like with the opposite colors. In this game, white plays knight to c4, declining the change, trying to get the bishop or knight trade, which would be normally good. Knight e7. The idea of the e4 lines is to provide send with these the a4. Okay, yeah, I see a good point here. a4 tries to possibly trap the bishop with 5 and maybe like a b4. And of course, if you play a6 or a5 to give the bishop space, white can take this. And now you get a bad structure with pawns like this. Okay, so Nathan makes space for his bishop over here. And of course, if he takes, I think after 8 takes, getting this open rook should be reasonable. It's just a trade. Not the worst thing ever. Okay, so that's where we are right now. This is the live game. Let's move on to board 4, see what happens. This is Dane Zakar versus Daniel Deutsch. Have d4. Okay, not just a typical opening for Dane. Queen's Gambit. Takes. Okay, yeah, that's interesting. I didn't know he would take it right away. But okay. Bishop f4.
I'm not a d4 player
It's
myself,
like a London with exchange.
I've heard a lot of d4 players aren't a fan of playing against the Slav. What do you think about the Slav?
Yeah, there's definitely some lines. I mean, I haven't played it since forever. I played other stuff like the Queen's Gambit Accepted, but the Slav is another good option that I'll maybe want to learn, or I'll think about it. But the Slav, I guess sometimes you get to take onto it sometimes in some lines. in some other lines you get to play b5, a6, and c5 and get a good position.
Yeah.
Position in this structure.
Eddie had a good game
It's
recently.
definitely something to be feared.
He got the e5 break in and had a nice rolling game with black. Made the Slav look pretty good.
Who got it?
Eddie Wasserman is black. Played a nice.
Oh, was that a game of the week you did?
I believe so. Yeah, it was either game.
Yeah,
of the
it
week
was.
Or
I remember
it was
that
featured on one of the broadcasts, but.
I think it was the game of the week against William Murphy.
Yep, that sounds right.
Where he got a very quick attack, a quick blunder by William.
But that shows the power.
Yeah, in any case, so
that makes me nervous about the Slav when I see it. So, but yeah.
I mean, all you have to do is know the lines, but in any case, taking this pawn here just kind of stops all the weird lines, and you get into a normal London and normal developing. Nothing too crazy. This beef, which would be almost impossible to stop this work here. This would be a complete win, so you got to play that. 3, and now we have a London setup for black. Black chooses to develop the bishop outside the pawn structure before playing e6, so that's one of the two setups. You either play e6 to the bishop first. Now the thing with taking the bishop out first is, like, why I don't do it too often unless I know what I'm doing, is that a lot of times you can get hit with, like, not here, but if the bishop were on f5, you can get hit with knight e5 and g4s in some positions, and then this bishop will just get like a bad like hit around, and it's just not pleasant to try to deal with this bishop getting kind of stuck. But okay, bishop g4, e6. Okay, we have bishop d6 challenging the f4 bishop, the typical London bishop. Queen b3. Okay, queen b3. I've seen moves like this in this structure before, of course, targeting the b7 pawn, which, I mean, it's not really a threat right now, because if you take it, knight a5 does trap the queen, it seems. With the a6, actually I can just play it. Example makes the move. Queen takes b7, that can be a problem because the queen is very low on squares. A6 pawn stopping this square.
One thing I always look for, though, when
the squares are covered,
when my queen's seemingly getting trapped, is can I counterattack my opponent's queen? Because there's sometimes
that's the only thing.
You can't in this situation, but there is sometimes some sneaky tactics, like if you think your queen's getting trapped on a7, you can sometimes hit the opposing queen, with bishop f4, shock them. And if they play queen takes f4 or something, now your queen has an escape square, and you maybe already grabbed a rook or something like that. So that's the situation I remember. And
that's definitely.
I'll play like queen f, because it always shocks you. Another story, Eddie did that same thing to me, so he's pretty good at openings. I played queen f3, and he played shocking b5, allowing me to play queen takes a8, because my queen would get trapped. So game went a little downhill from there. But ever since then, when I analyze that game, I always like to think about counter checking the queen, because it might have been it actually wasn't possible in that game, but it was close to possible. Kind of reminds me of that.
Mm-hmm. And in this case, in the computer line, it's not that bad, because after you say 8, you get a lot of material. Pawn, well, basically a pawn, a bishop, and a rook. Actually, let me go here. Yeah, you get the material here, and it's not very easy for black to do anything. I mean, you have a lot of control. That's what I mean. You have a lot of control over the squares of your structure. it's hard for black through. So this is a little for black, so it's not completely losing. Let's go back to the game. So in the game, black took on f4, recaptured. This, I think, still knight a5, knight, but 5 is still the trick. So now we got bishop takes f3. So this removes the defender of d4 to win a pawn and fork the pieces so you can.
Well, we're having a tiny bit of technical difficulties
Cut off.
with your connection, Jonathan.
Oh, maybe I turned on the computer. I don't know, or like the Stockfish, but
Yeah, I'd say keep it off for now, just because we're having your video's breaking up now and then. So probably want to conserve as much processing power as you can.
okay. Yeah, that's interesting. But yeah, so what I was saying, I was just going through what happened in the game, basically with bishop f4. Bishop f4, and now we're moving the defender of the d4 pawn. And now after something like this, maybe taking, and I don't think he wants this kind of structure. But of course, there's
it wouldn't be my
so
preference.
it's still. Yeah, there's a lot more to think about, but the triple pawn stack like that, it's not.
Is there even a name?
Not the nice thing to have.
What's the name for that structure? That probably doesn't qualify
Triple
for
pawns.
doesn't qualify for Carlsbad or anything fancy. I guess triple pawns, triple stack. No, but that's like
No, it's just
that's like stacking rooks,
just
2 rooks and a queen or something. But.
Yeah, or Tower of Power.
Yeah, that's like the Leaning Tower of Pisa, because that's not a good situation to have. Probably gonna tumble over before you know
Okay.
it.
Yeah, so and that's why Dane played Queen A4 check, forking the knight and the. So you have to block it, retreat the knight. Okay. And now Dane played F5. So basically, black won a pawn. White has the bishop pair, and white is fully developed because the rooks are connected, and black still has king and queen to develop. So if black develops the king and queen and connects the rooks, then I guess black is just up a pawn. So that's why white needs to play something very, very fast, find some counterplays, find some attacking chances. That's why Dane chooses to go for f5, trying to break over the structure, and if he takes, then try to keep the king in the center.
Can knight jump in there?
Yeah, possibly. And then you have to consider moves like, I'm considering moves like to d1, knight here, knight, like sacking. Oh, there's a lot of things. Like for example, let's say, do you sack? This feels like black getting away, and you don't have enough pieces. Maybe you attack this pawn. Maybe try to get your pawn back, or one of your pawns back. But then, of course, has to be enough space. What other options are there? Stacking here, it's not. I mean, you have to look at it. Sacking here, and then something like this. Doesn't seem like it's much of a difference. It's probably just going to be. So actually, wait, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. You are kind of breaking up now and then, but for the most part, it's okay. We got Chess Simple in the chat. Thanks for
Okay, I'm
saying
gonna.
smash that like button. Thank you, Chess Simple. Been following all weekend. And he's saying that he's heard in a similar structure, the London system referred to as the Burke structure, when bishop takes bishop on
And
f4
the bishop
followed
takes the
by
bishop.
e takes. At least that's what Benzea calls it. So Benzea Caro expert. Yeah, I'll play some training games against Connor, and he'll always let me play knight. This is a bit different, but yeah, always a bit. I guess this is black side of it, but I usually don't like grabbing that bishop at least right away. If they leave it for a couple moves, grab it. But I feel like then they just play their autopilot attacking plan, and I'm just like, okay, I made the game way too easy for them because like that's what they like to do. But at the same time, I feel like you got to learn to punish some of these half dubious moves at some point. Because, yeah, it's not totally normal to just give up the bishop here for no reason, but you do get a lot of dynamic compensation for it.
Okay, I don't know if you can still hear me or if I'm lagging, but I turned the computer on just to make sure I'm not crazy. But yeah, after e takes f5 and this check, okay, d1. At first the computer was saying knight takes d5 is kind of equal, but of course after analyzing it, just -1. Rook here and castles the knight takes d5, which is the line I was considering. It's actually pretty much equal, so this is perfectly fine. So yeah, so taking here is not good because your structure gets too loose. So black plays castles, and with castles it's still -1 because black is up a pawn.
So pawn grabbing worked out.
Takes. Yeah, and yeah, these pawns are slightly loose, but they are very easy to defend. And you might get to push them very, very quickly. But it's not really a weakness, but it's a strength in this position.
So what do you like to do in your games? Do you grab pawns and hold on for dear life like Daniel did, or do you get that king castled and say, that's a nice free pawn, but I'm going to continue my development?
It all depends. Well, if I think the move is the best, I'll do it. But I mean, a lot of times you can just grab a pawn, and if I don't see that I'm like getting crushed or there's like too many tempos coming in, or I can still get developed, one move later, I'll grab a pawn. But it all depends on the situation. Like you have to judge how quickly can you get developed, how weak your position becomes, how well can you defend, that kind of thing. And in this case, of course, the pawns are slightly loose, but after you defend them a little bit, you should have no problems here.
Yeah, that's
of course black.
That go-to answer in chess, it depends. We love to follow dogmatic rules, especially myself, but unfortunately, each position you need to evaluate and determine based on concrete calculations what is going to be the best option. So makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, but I will say that more often than not, you can just take a seemingly free pawn and try to survive. Especially the lower the level, probably the better the chances you'll survive.
It's classical chess too. I mean, it's not blitz, so you do have time to find the accurate defensive moves that you need to find, if there's only one.
Okay, so white plays g3, basically conceding the fact that black is up a pawn. So I don't think there's any special idea here. Queen to a5. Now black sees that he's up a pawn. If he trades the queens, oh wait, you can still hear.
Yeah, I can hear you.
If it's then it's just simplification and the less tactics to worry about, less threats to worry about without the queen. So you just up a pawn in the endgame. That's the idea. Now, let's see here. I want to go back. I just want to see what could have been improved. This is probably the critical position. And yeah, the computer is saying either to just to do something about this bishop. Now, b3, queen b3. Now it's -1 because you do lose this pawn. Yeah, so I guess this is a funny tactic to watch over or like watch out for in your games, is taking this bishop, maybe taking this knight, and now this is just an isolated pawn, and you can, after you give up your defender, both of these defenders get taken away. So it's a cool tactic to watch out for. It's not very simple to find, and of course Dane Zagar rated 2000 didn't really see that coming. So it's usually good practice to do something about this bishop. Okay. Let's see.
Do we have a current position on board 3?
Oh, wait a second. It looks like I don't think this is true, but the DGT board says Dane played queen to e4. It's very, very funny. If you played that, okay. Queen h4.
Oh yeah, the check. Yeah, yeah. Check board 3. It says.
Board 3 has the same problem. So okay, so what we saw this move, we saw that move. White took the bishop, played bishop d5.
Ah yeah, he took the bit because
then we have bishop c4.
For some reason,
bishop takes.
It registered bishop c5 instead of. It registered him playing bishop c4 instead of. No.
Yeah, so I think what happened is probably there's a trade and then probably this, but I guess they need to edit the moves. They're moving very, very slowly. The bishop, maybe he was moving the bishop very slowly until when he captured, so it registered as, I don't know, but I feel like the DGT board should grab the move after he presses the clock, right? Like, that's when the move is complete.
Yeah.
So just
after you press the clock, or you need to like stop the clock to register the result.
I mean like register the move, but like, or yeah, the result if you stop the. I mean, if they stop the clock, maybe you're making a claim, so you don't want to really.
Yeah.
Write a result on the DGT board, but I mean, I don't know why bishop d5 would be registering. Maybe they have to edit it. But yeah, queen b3 is very funny. So I don't think we're going to be able to follow this game.
Yeah.
There definitely was a trade because the queen is on b3, so that's what we can assume. But yeah, we can't really trust this game now.
So that is the answer is we did have a chat question asking for the status of that game, and unfortunately the answer is we're not sure right now. We also have.
I mean, yeah, if you're watching. Oh yeah, if you're watching board 3, you're watching it with us, so we don't really have any special info since we're not at the castle.
Yeah, yep, everyone's at home. Got volunteer production staff, so that's pretty nice. And yeah, anyone else watching who's in the Minnesota chess scene, if you're interested in doing commentary, just reach out, and we would love to have you guys on. This is community channel. Connor's in the chat, so Connor's another community channel contributor, did commentary all day yesterday, and he said that Dane doesn't get tricked often in the opening, so it was pretty good on Daniel to trick Dane since it doesn't happen too often. And he also says that the DGT boards actually pick up all the moves even if you slide, so you definitely don't want to slide the pieces when you're playing on DGT because it's actually meant to work even if you don't play with the clock. So I don't know how that would work. Seems like a little bit more difficult. But...
Yeah, that's true. And I've seen in the DGT board instructions that it also, if you play, like without the clock, and if you just have a board that's not connected to anything and you play a game, it will save the game in memory so that you can, to like a couple, I don't know how many, maybe 1,000 or games it will save that you just play over the board into its memory that you can then grab and put on your computer later when you connect it. That's a pretty cool feature. So yeah, definitely, you don't need a clock, but I'm guessing it shouldn't be that much harder to say, like, to make a rule that if a clock is connected, grab it after you press the clock. But you know what? Maybe how about you just don't slide the pieces then, or make the move quickly so that it doesn't register a bad move. I don't know. It's kind of hard to judge, hard to know the solution.
Perfect. Well, we got a full lobby right now. 9 people watching, including one person who participated in the tournament and decided to withdraw early, and now is just relaxing watching the stream with us. So welcome. Happy to see how this closes out. So yeah, and this is actually totally the audience that this channel is meant for, is the players themselves. Hopefully some of the players who are playing are checking this out in the replay, because yeah, we want to get broadcasts on our own games, pretty fun. And every Thursday too, we're going to have a broadcast. So if you guys want to come play and see your games broadcast, even if you're a little lower rated than this crowd, just come play on Thursdays, because a lot more players get on the DGT boards for commentary that are lower rated.
Okay, so now I want to move on to board 5, see what happened in there. So we've been going through the boards one by one, and I'm just going to block the board so I don't see it first of all. Okay. So we're at the beginning of board 5. See an F4. Okay. The bird's opening. Knight F3. Now we have a C5. Now normally I see stuff like D5 and G6 in the bird, so C5 is somewhat interesting.
Yep.
Or normal developing.
Connor in the chat plays the bird now and then. I've heard that that the bird is actually worse than the Dutch, which doesn't make a ton of sense to me, but I have heard that.
Interesting. I feel like bird is just a 0. Plus minus 0.3. And let me check the Dutch. Actually, I'll just put it here. And it's plus 0.5. Okay, so maybe the Dutch is slightly worse according to the Lichess engine
that does make sense.
High depth.
So
but it's still about the same. Well, maybe according to something else, but not Stockfish at depth 50. Huh. But it's still like 0.3, 0.5. It's not that bad. Anything's really playable.
Connor says he won't.
Okay,
play,
so
won't play
we have this move.
Anyone over 2100, so you're not going to be able.
Yeah,
to,
definitely.
He might play it against me, but he's not going to play it against you, unfortunately. So I want to get your anti-bird rep ready against Connor.
Good. I'm not going to remember, but that's a nice little fact for now. Okay, so we have this move D4, which kind of transposes into like a stonewall sort of structure if white plays C3. Or you develop with B3, bishop B2. 6, simply defending this pawn by Kyle. Kyle, or I thought it was Kyler.
Yeah, it's Kyler.
But okay.
It got put in the tournament standings wrong, and then transposed to the broadcast wrong. But yep, it's Kyler, national master.
Yeah. Okay. So bishop D3. So far, simple developing stonewall structure. Now black and chatteaued both bishops, and is not playing with the center pawns. He's going from the sides. It's still perfectly fine for black. Slightly better. Okay, we see a pawn push in the center. Knight to e5, typical stonewall structure. You defend the square for this knight. Okay, so now we have the one of the things you can do in the stonewall is set up some sort of attack on the king. So it'll be interesting to see how black sets up a defense or parries any threats, because white's the one bringing in the pressure always in this structure. We have 97, probably going towards f5, I'm assuming, and of course stepping away from this knight, because you never really want to take it because it only improves white's control. H3. Now of course if knight f5, you just get kicked right off with g4, and it's not very pleasant. Black plays h5 first. Let's do it. I'm just gonna do a quick eval check on Stockfish. Yep, Black is still there. This structure is not. It's not very easy to penetrate. With g4, I'm assuming you can just take it, and then you can plant a knight on each. Like if something like this. Get rid of that pawn. Like you always have this knight on h5 to block the file, so it's very hard to get through for white. So we have queen e2 in the real game. Knight f5 finally coming in with a knight now that it will not get kicked. But it still gets kicked, so g4, and of course Black has to take this now, otherwise your move was useless and white gets to open it up. So h takes should be very, very quick, and of course knight takes should be the obvious follow-up. And now it's the question: do you trade this knight, or do you play, or do you just leave it? Because I don't think white has many threats. This queen cannot even get to the h file because all the squares are covered. There's no real threat for white. Happens here, but so far g4 is where we're at.
Could he maybe threaten to play bishop takes f5 to clear h4 for his queen?
That's a good idea. So let's go through something like this. So okay, so h4, but even if you take here, the queen also can just take it, so it's still not. There's still no threat so far. Maybe knight here and then take. Okay, maybe let's say I'm just gonna make some moves here. You get the knight here, then you take h4, then you have a threat of mate, but then after rook e8, it's clear how you get through the king.
Yeah, I feel like this is following.
And computer check, yeah.
I feel like I see in a lot of club games, the line's open, and then people are like,
yeah, computer says it's.
Like these are open lines, so I need to attack with them. But really, from what I can tell, successful attacks mostly come from piece count. Yeah, the open lines are nice, but it mostly comes from piece count versus defender count. And I guess they
fill up
have
here.
Some numbers.
Yeah, Black has enough defenders, and the structure is closed enough that pieces are not getting in. Of course, this bishop is the star here. So yeah, there's no actual threat for white. Even if you give white a couple of moves, I don't really know what white will do. We'll have to see in the game. But so far, I don't think there's any problems for black. This is an interesting setup with h5 and knight f5. Very, very solid. I do like it. Maybe I'll keep it in mind for another time.
Connor also pointed out that bishop c1 is just a nightmare piece for white, and you got to finish your development.
This bishop is not contributing like ever.
Yeah, and that's probably just a down. From what I can tell, that seems to be a downside of the stone wall. I mean, you put your pawns on all those dark squares. What are you expecting to do with your dark square bishop?
So, actually, we have a couple of moves here in this game. The exchanges that did happen. Now, black plays bishop to f6. I'm not sure exactly the idea behind this move. I don't know. Bishop h4 is not a threat. I mean, maybe just queen h4, like out the exchange and queen h. But I don't know how worried I would have been about that either. But
I mean, maybe his idea is to play king g7 and
yeah, actually, that's true. Yeah, that's true. Actually, that's a very good point. That it's not about the bishop; it's about letting the king in. That's true. We turn on the engine. Bishop f6 was the threat 7 according to the engine.
Yeah, you are having.
Just seems like a very solid position.
You are having some leg issues, so I would say, unless you really need to, probably keep it off.
Yeah, that's true. I'll try to have the engine as little as possible.
Yeah, we're
turn it on for
doing
sanity.
organic stream right now. struggling along with the rest of the players. But I can check out some evals on the side screen too, because I've got more computer processing power. I'm using Dane's high-powered gaming PC, so improved a little bit from Saturday. And about to get one of these myself. Maybe not a gaming laptop, but some sort of higher powered hardware, so we can improve the technical issues on the back end. But
yeah, I'm planning on getting one too. My computer is like 7 years old, so I definitely need something upgraded.
yeah, forever I was just using web browser, pretty much just use Chrome. Check my email, play some lead chess, do some lead chess studies. So until I got started with the channel here, not really had a huge use case for a nice PC, but now I've got one, so it'd be nice to get one. I can maybe improve the quality overall. So yeah. Again, we're a volunteer channel, so I think bear with us as we kind of get the channel going and get the production quality increased over time. Appreciate it. All right, board 3 is back. Let's see what happens in Nathan's game, just in case, so we know he didn't actually hang his queen.
Oh, actually, I was gonna go through every game like one by one, and then loop back to the beginning to see what happens. So let's see what happened on board 6 here.
Okay.
We have Jordan by Josiah against Jeff Ragon. So a lot of J's here. I got C already 4 first letter J's, so it's interesting. But let's see. So we got a D4 opening with Knight F6. We got a London setup, and Black has a Indian setup.
Trusty London.
It's Indian defense setup. London versus King's Indian. Okay, so we have a C5 pawn break, so not the usual E5 sort of break.
Must be
okay, we have a capture. Is pretty.
He must like playing the dragon.
Oh yeah, I guess transposing kind of in a dragon setup. Yeah. C6. It's basically London versus dragon. Knight D5.
Mortal
E5.
Kombat battle of atypical openings.
Yeah, I definitely did. I sometimes see E5 and then Knight D5. I've seen some of my computer games that I've been running. They go with E5 and then Knight D5. I'm going to turn on the engine just to see here. Okay, hopefully it's not too laggy, but yeah, E5 is a possible move here. I don't remember the line, but it's something like Knight D5. Maybe we'll just say here Knight D5. It's also possible. But this is pretty much the same thing. And looks like Black cleared out White's center pawns. He ended up with his center pawn. We got this bishop being blocked. Black seems to have won the opening battle. Black has more space and is more clean. The sound?
Yeah. It makes sense to me.
Okay, I'm going to turn on the engine just to see. The engine, it's minus 0.1, so Black is doing fine. Okay, Black won the bishop pair. Everything is very clean for Black here. And this is the live board position after Queen C7 right now. So, yeah, Black is slightly better here, and White is struggling to find a place for the pieces, and we'll have to see what happens when these rooks get on the files.
Well, I think this is kind of showing their rating difference a bit. Josiah close to 2200, and Joseph more down expert 2023. So we'll see if it's enough. But just the kind of normal positional massage is, I think, to be expected with the ratings.
Yeah, and this is a good thing to remember for the London, actually. Yeah, because I actually remember seeing some of my computer games getting the e5 break and knight d5, so that's definitely something to remember as a possibility. If I know there's a London player, you can maybe try something like this. Okay, I'm gonna move on to the next game now. Jordan Tim against Luke Hengen. So Jordan starts off with d4. Okay, so we have g6, so we're not going to get the Jobabo London that Jordan usually plays. We have g6 right away, and he goes with d4. So he transposed to what I would be playing. Okay, so we have knight f3. Normally, I see moves like bishop f3, and eventually with f3 and g4 setup, but we have knight f3. So we have a safe developing position or development in this position. So we're not going to have some crazy attacks. We're going to have a more clean game. Okay, we have e5 right away. So let's see here. Yeah, castles, e5. e5 is the best move. Now, computer 98, but the d takes c5 is just as good. Okay, so after this break, obviously this pawn is now hit way too many times, so the only real thing to do here is to give it up for ruining black's structure. So far it seems to be prep. Jordan's uptime from what he started. And Luke is thinking. And of course Jordan plays very fast to begin with.
Do you like playing against players who play extremely fast, or does it bother you?
Normally no, because I'm like, okay, I mean, I feel like my opponent should be thinking, like,
Yeah.
why are they playing such long games if they're not going to think? But you know what? At the end of the day, there's every kind of player playing, so everyone can use their time how they want.
Yeah, to me, I think it increases my
And
confidence.
I'll just have to.
I feel like, there's no way this dude's calculating. I mean, maybe they are, and they're just really good, but I'm like,
Yeah,
how can you double, triple check if you're moving at some of these speeds? So I'll take my blunder checks, but
yeah, I mean, maybe
I play old
just
man chess, but
they're probably just thinking about their next move on your turn.
yeah, it's
So
true.
that's my guess. If you're thinking systems like if you think about their moves like on your turn, you can play them very fast. So maybe you have a different sort of way to think. I don't know, hard to say, but anyway, knight to b5 is the move that we're currently on, attacking c7. It's quick engine check. White is already better. So white was already better. So it looks like white got his prep in with e5 and e6, and he has completed his development, or almost completed, and now black is lacking the development. So white starts attacking right away, and it's very, very difficult to defend this pawn. And of course, if you play something like c6, maybe knight to c7 anyway, followed by possibly capturing this pawn, and it's already looking pretty bad.
Even bishop f4 looks pretty scary.
f4, sure. Unless maybe e5 though.
Yeah.
Maybe e5.
But I mean, the knight's pinned. I don't know. Do we have enough? No, not quite.
Now we have 1-1-2. So
Yep.
defenders to defend this pawn against the captures. But at the very least, you win a pawn, if anything. We'll have to see how black decides to defend this, but of course it's already +1, according to the computer.
Plus you're forking the monster bishop, so pretty much auto decision to grab that pawn.
Alright, so that's board 7. We're going to go to board 8 now, the final board that we have, and then we're going to look back. We got Puit against Yuval Shemesh. Yuval plays the London, of course, so there's no surprises here. We have a c5 break, and the knight's developed. I'm not sure about what happens if white decides to capture the pawn. So I haven't really looked at this. So usually I play e6 pretty quick, but I guess black wants to keep the option of getting his bishop out first. And of course, yes, black or white does take this pawn, and after e6, yeah. So this must be some sort of prep. I haven't looked at this specific line. Maybe there's stuff like knight b3 defending the pawn, but of course, knight d4 is another option to hit the bishop, maybe put pressure on this knight that now cannot be defended. Cannot be defended with the bishop coming back. So let's see who wins the prep battle. So black captures the pawn that they have lost, wins the bishop pair. h6, knight b3. Black decides to start advancing his pawns to attack this bishop, plant his knight in the center. And this is where we are at the game, in the game right now. After knight e4, it's white to move. And it's interesting to see. I mean, this isn't really a big threat right now, I don't think. Not really. Or maybe you're threatening to play h5, actually, now that I think about it. Let's say something like this. If h5, threatening h4, trapping the bishop. If you play h3 or h4, you get a very bad pawn structure and maybe lose this. If you take this, then maybe your bishop gets trapped. g4. Hard to say, but I think the bishop might just get trapped. So f3 is kind of an interesting move, but maybe you just take this pawn. It's hard to say. It's going to turn on the engine actually after h5. Yeah, I mean h5 did say that it's a very good move. Yeah, g4 is still trapping the bishop, so maybe the threat is h5. So knowing that the threat is h5, you can start to look at some ways to defend, and it seems very, very difficult to defend. Like, you can't really make a square for the bishop. You can't play f3 because this. You can't play f3 because this pawn will still fall. You can't play h3 or h4 because the pawn will still fall. And maybe you can play bishop h5 to stop h5 from happening.
Can you play knight d4?
Maybe knight d4.
Yeah, knight d4 and then
knight d4 is
h3 or f3.
Yeah, knight d4. We'll see if that stops this. I mean, this is the kind of move you have to look at. It's kind of hard to calculate all this.
Well, I was more thinking.
And if you take this, so block. Oh yeah, I see what you're saying. You block the bishop, so you have f3.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, it's not ideal to double your pawns like that, but at least you're not losing a bishop.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, maybe something like this puts you under pressure, though, and it's kind of hard to judge. That's what I'm thinking about. But yeah, knight d4 is definitely a move. It will definitely be safer, obviously, than the alternative. And after this, I wonder if you can try to take this pawn and give up. Actually, yeah, you're not giving up the bishop. So maybe if you. Okay, so here's what I'm thinking. So right now, black is threatening h5. Your move knight d4 does seem to stop h5 because after knight takes f5 and actually no, not knight takes f5. Bishop takes h5 and g4. Now you have knight takes f5, threatening to take the pawn, and after rook takes h5, knight g7 does seem to be like winning back your material. So knight d4, I think, does h5 because you can just take it.
Nice.
And
plus,
the computer doesn't agree.
That knight's offsides, though, it feels like. So it just feels like makes
sense
for one reason.
about that was just because actually, yeah, you can't take it because I think black will take the knight first and then play g4. So that's another thing to think about is lose this knight, you're gonna lose this bishop. So maybe it doesn't really help that much. But the computer does say that after f3, white is perfectly fine, which makes sense. You're not losing the bishop, and at least the structure is solid. There's also bishop b5 apparently, which makes a new threat on this knight. And let's see after rook c8. Oh, now you play knight takes f5. Okay. And then you play bishop e5. Okay. Hopefully I wasn't cutting out.
No, you weren't.
Okay, good. So yeah, this is one of the computer lines after bishop to b5. You can take this pawn, and then now you have a square on e5. So that's another thing you can do. Let me try to go back to the game. Yeah, so maybe then bishop b5 now is another option to give your bishop a new square.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So that's where we're at right now. After knight e4, we'll see what white does. So white's not really in trouble, which is good.
All right, since we got through all the boards, let's take a quick look through our sponsors. So we got a few for this round. So first of all, I want to thank the namesakes of the top two sections. So we have Roger Hale and Dan Voje. Both have been longtime contributors to the club that basically have made huge contributions that keep it alive. Chess Castle, Minnesota, been around since 1972, kind of post Fischer boom, and these two have helped a ton. So thank you very much. And we're going to be playing in the Roger Hale and Dan Voje sections for the foreseeable future. And then the bottom section we still have an open for namesake for that section. So if you've got an idea about doing some major contributions or sponsorship of the chess club, we could name that section after you. But again, thank you so much, Dan and Roger, for all your contributions. Our next sponsor quickly is Chess Goals. So chessgoals.com, simple chess courses for non-grandmasters. Learn complete repertoires in under 100 lines. Use coupon code CASTLE to save 30% on courses. So those are authored by National Master Matt Jensen, who also commentates on the channel. And I'm a member of Chess Goals, bought their Catalan course, and I see that he's definitely in there all the time answering everyone's questions about the various courses he puts out. So it seems to be a very nice product. Check that out if you're looking for a new opening or beginner repertoire, or club level, intermediate as well. And our third sponsor here is our commentator today, Jonathan. So Jonathan also has his own YouTube channel, very successful, and hopefully we can get this channel up nearing that success level in the future. So he's put out over 472 videos, has over almost 1,000 subscribers and over 1.5 million views. So check out his YouTube channel. You can see all the info right here, and it is also linked in the description. So those are our sponsors, and we'll get back to the games. Thank you so much for supporting the channel.
Thank you. Okay, so now we're going to be looping back around to board one. So I'm sure a lot of things changed since like an hour ago when we started looking at the games.
I'm going to step away myself just for 1 minute, but I'll be right back. But go ahead and continue.
Okay.
And we'll offset our breaks if you want to take it later.
Okay, yeah, so in this game, I'll go very quickly through what we already looked at, remember seeing. So I think over here, around here is where I left off. So white had a interesting setup. He decides to push with d4. Has his typical setup that he used in round one with e6 and e6 and d5 and knight f6, and the b6 setup with his bishop, a6 as well, like a typical setup for him. And let's see how he decides to develop. Knight e2 probably going about 4, maybe d3 and maybe e5. Okay, so this is actually a typical, still a very typical setup for anyone really to set up their pieces in the structure. Usually, I see this in white games because white starts with the first move and he has an extra tempo. But for structure, you get to plant this knight on e4, and it's just very pleasant to play with. You have now the option of starting attacks. You have the option of breaking. It's just very solid. Okay, white decides to route his knight probably in the center via this square. I was anticipating this square, but I guess the same sort of thing. Okay, white pins this knight, making it slightly harder to get in the game, and slightly harder to push f5. Black unpins this knight because there's no real, I guess there's no plan of c5, so this rook is not really going to be needed right now. So now we see black's plan is to get the knight to f8, e6, maybe g6, we'll see. So white did get his pieces situated towards the center, so that's his idea. Of course, they can get kicked away right away with f6. Okay, we have knight to c6 coming into this hole that black made. This is one of the only real weaknesses in black's structure. But of course, so if black just ignores this knight is not really attacking anything in black's position. So if you can just ignore it, then there's no issue. So queen f7, and now he's probably trying to set up his own plans. Bishop g2, so this bishop was rendered useless on this diagonal. Now there's nothing to pin, no pressure to put, nothing to attack. So he brings it back to g2, eyeing possibly d5. So this knight is having a harder time to move, but no wishes yet. Okay, now we see queen to d7, which wasn't possible before because this bishop was on h3. This knight is under attack, and it's kind of hard to defend. Your only real options are knight here, queen here, and everything seems very loose. If knight to a5, you get kicked off right away. Defender. Queen c1 is a move, but just keeping everything together. And of course, the other move is knight to b4, which after a5 does get the knight trapped. So really, the only move actually is queen c1 that I'm seeing right now. What happened in the game? And then black plays h5, bring off some sort of attack on the king side. So we'll see how this attack develops, how the pieces come in, how the lines are opened up. But so far it looks like h4 and takes might be a way to weaken the structure. Let me just make a few moves here. Something like this does weaken the structure. Now there's no f3 because this pawn will fall. And now the h file will be very easy to access. So we'll see if that's what black's idea is. We'll have to see what happens if g takes, but that shouldn't be a big problem because he always moves like queen to g4 and getting inside. So we'll see if that's his idea, or to play g5 and knight g6 first, or maybe h4, h3.
Yeah, Sammy is known as Mr. Solid, but at the same time, he seems to kick off some very fierce attacks once they're positionally justified.
Oh yeah, well, you can't win games by just sitting. You have to do something eventually. Yeah, the only issue in this position is this knight has nowhere to go, actually. Seemed like a nice open hole and outpost, but unfortunately has no more retreating moves. The only place really is if you make space of these squares, so move one of these pieces, like a3, knight here, or just move the... Actually, you can't even move the rook without losing the knight. There's no square. But, of course, like, if you try to make a space for the knight to come back, you'll always get it trapped. So now there's literally no way for the knight to come out. They have to find a different way. Well, in this case, white can take here, but principle, this knight is very easy to get trapped. I checked the eval with the computer just to see if black is that much better, if white is okay. It's hard to say, but I feel like black is definitely more comfortable, especially if this knight somehow finds a way to get lost in the sort of... The good thing for white is that this knight cannot be attacked any further way, which means like if it'll be attacked, like let's say with a rook from here, just be lost. But so far white's holding. We'll see. So actually, computer says white is slightly better. White can play f3 in this position and kick out this knight, and maybe even start pushing for... actually, I'm going to turn off the arrows that are the variation arrows real quick. So computer showing that after f3, white is in fact a little bit better because everything's actually defended, and maybe white's the one who can push e4 and e5. Like, for example, let's just say this knight gets... Or let's just say rook e1 and black doesn't move. Like, I'm already seeing like e4, take, that doesn't do anything, and now e5 is so hard to stop because all the pieces are actually looking towards e5. So I can actually see white being good shape. I can see why the computer might be saying that. That's what happens though. Oh, okay, so we have another move in the game though. We have knight f4, so that doesn't line up with the f3 idea, but of course this attacks the pawn on d5. I wonder if... Actually, the pawn on h5 as well, so Sam might have to defend it with one of these moves, defend both pawns. Queen f5, you have to look out for getting hit again with bishop h3, so now you have to defend the pawns from this square. And it's hard to say, hard to say. Or maybe white will play h4 first and then bishop here. So it's... I think queen to f7 is the move. Maybe you would consider taking this and trying to chip away at this structure. That's another thing to consider. What the computer thinks. Computer, hopefully that wasn't laggy, but the computer does think that you need to get rid of this knight right away. You can't attack everything in your position and be defensive right away and then push h4. So and white is actually still fine, so no problems technically so far. Okay, I'm gonna move on to the next game then. Are you back here?
I'm back. Yep.
Do I sound?
Sounds good. Yeah.
I'm not. Okay, I'm not breaking up so far.
No, your quality seems to be going pretty good. I think it's definitely good to take the arrow.
Okay.
Leave the arrows off. The eval arrows.
Yeah, those eval arrows are just piling up because I was looking at so many things. Okay, so next game, I'm gonna go back to the beginning. Oh yeah, so where we left off in this game, it was Najdorf, and Andrew was thinking for a very long time. So he thought for like 9 minutes or so, and he played h3, which is a move like almost in the Najdorf, almost any move you can think of. Maybe not b4, but like almost any move is playable. Like maybe not bishop d2, maybe not queen d2, but any of these moves are pretty much playable. So there's like 17 different options, which is funny. So h3 is definitely one of them, stopping any stuff here. Maybe
like
preparing
trendy at one
g4,
point, right?
maybe trying to set up,
There's like rook g1
maybe
ideas
setting up like this.
sometimes. I don't
Yeah,
know.
even rook g1 is actually a move here, trying to play g4.
I played bishop e2 myself. Just go the positional route. Feel like you're gonna play a lot of Najdorf games in your life. You might as well go positional because you can't play the same sharp variation against the same guy over and over.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, I definitely need to learn some different setups too. Like when I start getting back into chess more, that's what I'll be doing. I'll be learning more openings. I'll be learning more setups, more like getting like the plans out of the openings, etc. But it's just a lot of work, and right now I have different projects. But yeah, definitely
Yeah,
get different lines in
if I
most of the openings.
if I played like bishop g5 Najdorf every game or something, then I'd be nervous. I'd get into these like prep duels with guys, and we'd be like playing 30 moves of prep versus positional option. Even if you're a total prep nerd, at some point you're just gonna start playing chess.
Yeah, I don't like 30 moves of prep like for both of us. I like it when I have 30 moves of prep and my opponents can't have. Like I don't want to be the one to. It's annoying when your opponent also is playing the prep as well, but at least then I want to know the moves further.
Well, then at a
But
certain point,
in any case,
if they know more than you, though, at a certain point, all you can do is be impressed because like that must have taken an obscene amount of work.
or they just looked up what I play and
Yeah,
they studied a little bit.
Yeah, they looked it up. Success, they found your online account.
Actually, at World Open, when I went to World Open, somebody, like, I was surprised that he was playing so many like computer moves that I was like, in my line, I was like, how did he know all this? And I'm like, he must have prepared. And after the game, he did tell me he found one game of mine. He looked up, a couple of moves, and yeah, I mean, I was fine, but I was just a little bit surprised, which then annoyed.
Yeah, I think
But of
especially.
course, I still knew the plans better. Actually, I still knew the plans better, and I was getting the upper hand.
I've heard nationally, especially junior players, are pretty good at preparing with your online accounts.
Hmm. Yeah, which is why I gotta reach, or like I gotta have like at least two things to play, like or I don't know. You just have to have some variation.
Yeah, my solution is just go ultra solid and like say like, okay, how are you gonna like beat Nimzo or Svechnikov? Like, good luck, but that probably won't work. We'll see.
Hmm.
Predictable is always a bit risky,
All
but
right, so
solid at least is a way to mitigate it.
okay, so the typical move in the Najdorf is to play e5, which is possible against almost any of the options presented. Yeah, the typical move here I did see in this, I have an opening book that I generated from Leech's games, and I did see this h3, and the typical move place for the knight is knight d to e2, and probably the setup will be something like this, maybe f4 f5. So this is so far lining up. We got h5, okay. So yeah, I guess I can have the master's database and the Leech's database open as well, because it won't be lagged. But yeah, according to the master's database, h5 is the best move here. Is the one move played the most times, very drawish, and the piece. Oh yeah, okay. So we have knight g1, which I've seen this, I think, in a Gotham chess video. I've seen something like this before with knight g1. And it has been played 24 times. Turn on the engine. Okay, it's saying g3, but knight g1 is definitely, if that's okay, then why not play it? Because it's so funny.
Yeah, you get some psychological value.
Okay, so far we have a few more moves. We have a trade on f6, knight on d5, removing the defender, attacking this pawn. Knight c6 defends and develops. The idea is to bring the knight to f3, which I mean you could have done before, but when your knight was on d4, but I guess you induced this h5. Oh, okay. I mean, personally, I would have been like g3, bishop g2. Okay. We have a sort of Sveshnikov sort of structure with the bishop on g5,
Yeah,
the knight on d5, the pawn is on b4.
they're kind of
So white,
they get the same structures all the time.
Interesting. So this move was attacking this pawn on h5, and I'm guessing the defensive moves are h4 and g6. One of those. Let's see. The computer says g6 is perfectly fine from what I looked. Bishop g5 is actually also perfectly fine. You sack the pawn, but if you take it, like this, getting center is the plan. And there's no quick attack here because white doesn't have an extra piece to help out. So I don't know how I would continue. Maybe f5 or maybe something like knight d4, just develop the pieces and start lining up some sort of attack. Maybe bishop b6, rook c8, knight d4, and maybe that's the setup.
Yeah, black's king is
But in
actually
any case,
a lot of times surprisingly safe in Sveshnikov structures, just because.
Yeah, you need to have enough pieces around the king to be able to checkmate, and you just don't.
Yeah, I feel like it's also has to do with the center. You know, I think a lot of successful attacks, the attacking side has a really strong grip on the center, and I think in the Sveshnikov it's almost an equal grip, a little bit. I mean, obviously you got the positional hole on d5, but.
And the reason is that if you have a center, you can bring in more pieces from different directions through the center into the attack. So you have a center, it's easier to get more pieces into the attack. That's probably the reasoning behind it.
Yeah, I definitely like to
so we have this
fight for the center whenever, in all my openings. I can't imagine being a hypermodern main, but I saw you play a little bit of modern yourself, so what's your attitude towards hypermodern openings?
modern, what do you mean?
Or hypermodern?
What do you mean exactly?
Hypermodern, like Perk and G6, you know, I'm not going to take the center. You take the center and I'll try to break it down.
I mean, I don't really play that actually. Not in classical, at least.
Oh.
I do take the center. I play against it a lot.
Yeah. So you're a center guy yourself as well.
Yeah, definitely. I do like to control. So in this game, we have the a4 and c3. This is a typical idea in Sveshnikov is to play like when your knight gets kicked around, you play a4 to break down this a6 b5 structure, and after b4 you get the c3 and to break away his hold on the queen side. I guess the pawn takes also helps out with covering some of the center, and you'll have the b file, which you wouldn't have really had any other files otherwise, but nothing too crazy.
The way I like to handle, this a4 threat as black is try to get rook b8 in earlier, so then it makes a4 a lot less attractive because you can play b takes a4 favorably.
Oh yeah, that is definitely a line. It's to take and get your rook activated, of course. But yeah, that's a different kind of theory.
Yeah, totally different.
So we have ace. We have a5 here. Obviously, having a good outpost on b6 to block any possible counterplay on the b file. We have a takes. And by the way, I just have to. This pawn is still has been hanging for like the past couple of moves, and just never a real good time to take it because your center gets hurt as well. Especially now, yeah. If you take it, you lose this pawn. There's not really a good time. And actually, yeah, this is where we're at in the game. Rook c8.
Well,
Let's see the engine check. I would say the white is doing is pretty comfortable, especially if he gets
yeah,
knight b6 and c4. But you just have to defend this pawn for now.
I feel like
Maybe I'm
that.
thinking about queen d3.
I feel like when you get a nice pawn on d5 like that too, it's a pretty big space advantage. I mean, I know, but they've only got 2 minors left. But also look at that fixed weakness on a6. I mean, it's looking kind of dicey positionally to me
Yeah,
for black. Like, I'm not saying they're lost, but the position, principle of two weaknesses. Well, we got one glaring weakness on a6, and it also to me is
so the point. Oh, go ahead. You go ahead.
bishops are kind of nice to me too because look at this bishop on f1 that literally is not moved at all and not following really opening principles, but it's still exerting. It's still attacking a6. This more often happens with like bishop c1, but they're the only type of piece that you can never move it even once, and they can still, influence what's going on. A knight can't do that.
Yes. I mean, the queen also is
Yeah,
attacking.
the queen. The queen's the super, but
That's also a bishop.
yeah. I guess the queen does have that principle too, where a queen often exerts big pressure in the tactics just without ever moving, which is kind of nice.
Okay, so we have another move in this game. So knight b6 was played. Even though it gives up this pawn, this rook is not actually attacking anything in your position right now, so maybe he just wants to get this pawn very quickly. This is very forcing. There's no way to defend the a6 pawn. You're definitely gonna take it, and you're gonna have a passed pawn. Be a little hard to push through, but maybe that's his idea. I wonder if the computer would have said to even try to defend this pawn, but I'm gonna briefly turn on the computer just to see what it's saying. Okay, yeah, it is saying knight b6, and it's saying knight b6 is the only move. Because if you lose too much time with like queen d3, I think after rook c5, your center is starting to be in trouble. But what happens after knight b6? I need to turn on the engine. What's wrong with queen to d3? I'm kind of wondering. Actually, I'm gonna think about it for a little bit. Queen d3. Maybe you start getting attacked and black's pawns are coming very strongly, possibly. And if rook to c5 attacking this pawn, you got this one to defend. Oh, but then maybe he gets to move your defender. Not sure. Not sure. Maybe there's moves like e4 also to get the open file, because you're now getting caught undeveloped. This is very, very, very bad,
Yeah,
actually.
this is not.
So let me see here.
I get a bit nervous.
Or maybe e4 right away. E4 could be a really big problem because you wasted so much time. And let's see what the engine says after queen d3. Saying either e4 or rook c5. Here probably, yeah, it's saying e4. Yes, so black does get enough counterplay. But yeah, so there's no other moves like queen c2 drops this pawn, so that's not good. And the other move was rook to a3, but after rook to c5, knight b6. I wonder if there's any changes here. I wonder if there's any tricks. Maybe there's just counterplay. Hard to say. Wait a second. Okay, I'm gonna turn on the engine just to see. Actually, it's still saying e4. E4 is still good. Let's see after. Okay, yes, so e3. Yeah, so this is the thing. You're getting caught. And black's gonna be the one starting to put pressure.
I mean, that makes perfect sense positionally.
Well, you're gonna.
I feel like White's
Yeah,
tempting
your
fate
king's gonna get.
with their development choices here. So maybe I guess that's what it
Yeah,
takes.
so you definitely want to be quick.
Maybe that's what it takes to win classical games nowadays. Play on the edge and just outcalculate. But I can't imagine allowing black to be this well developed and feeling comfortable with my current development state as white.
Hmm.
It feels
Yeah, okay, so we have this move, and computer's saying yes, bishop a6 is the only move. I'm not sure why black is, or white is thinking too much. After this quick development, now you're ready to castle in one move, and there's no time for e4, e3, f5 moves. So that's where we're going to leave this game at. We're going to move on to game number 3 now, after a solid 10-minute of analysis. Actually, wait, we have a move. We have queen takes 8. Wait a second. We have queen takes h5 played here. And from what I saw in the engine, this was not the only move. I mean, the only move was bishop a6. So what's going on here? Oh wow, this is actually what we're talking about. It's the development. Now after knight g6, the engine is saying minus 1.6 because you defend your bishop. There's no attack here. You defend your bishop, and you start to get in. Now it's actually scary for Andrew. After knight g6, I mean, we'll see. It's still not, super easy, but I just undeveloped, and all these threats, c7, rook c1, or rook c2, bishop d2, like everything can happen now. So it's gonna be interesting to see where this goes. If getting the counterplay in is better.
If Arvin's able to get that upset, he would win sole second. So that would be a statement tournament for him for sure.
Was Arvin at 3 points or 3.5? I think 3, right?
Nope,
how much?
Arvind is at, here, let's pull the standings back up. So Arvind is at 3.5. And so, he's in there with Dane, and Joseph already went home. So Joseph's not in the mix, even though he's up there at the top of the standings. So it's really Arvin, Dane, and Samrug in contention for things. But then, unless Sammy gets upset on board 1, Arvin's got, the best chance here against... Yeah, so he's at 3.5, and if he wins, he'll have 4.5. If Sammy wins, he'll have 5.
Yeah, that's definitely money.
Yeah, and then there's no one else could be with him. So Arvin's got a better chance to win than Andrew, because if Andrew wins, then he'll be up at 4 points, but so will everyone else who won. There's a ton of 3-point players right now. So, yeah, Andrew's got a chance for a big shared second, kind of, and Arvin's got a chance for a sole second. So Arvin actually... Yeah, definitely outperforming his rating. Going to gain a lot. Sitting at 2039 right now. So, great tournament for Arvind.
So, we're going to move on from this game so far. We'll see how this goes. I'm going to go to board 3. And by the way, I did see that there's already 2 games that are completed. Zagar lost to Daniel Deutsch, and Jordan Tim won already. And he had a better position when we last saw. So we're going to go to board 3 for now, though. We have Nathan Hoover versus Henry Houton. I'm going to go through the game where we left off. Okay, so the board got fixed. It's not bishop d5 and queen sack. Okay. So far, pretty simple. Okay, so the key position here, white gives up the bishop pair to try to and so yeah, white is a tiny bit better. Therefore has some counterplay chances now that the pieces here, the queen has left, so now the king looks kind of juicy, but queen's coming back. H4 might be a threat, or F5. Still slightly better. Yeah, so with the threat of F4, you pretty much have to take this pawn. You can't let this pawn go to F4. It'll be too much of a wedge. You can't take it because the knight will get in. So you have to move the queen, and now it's just a little bit difficult for white to do anything. Now black has 2 more pawns to throw. But yeah, anyway, I think just taking that pawn is just so simple. It's just no more problems.
Plus, you just keep knight.
You don't need to analyze it further.
You just keep knight g6 terrible too, and I mean, you want to keep that structure.
Yeah, you don't need to overanalyze. It's already you can just feel that it's not good. So good enough for me. The queen h3. Maybe threatening rook f5 and h5. I think that's the threat. So we have f3. Guess if you attack this pawn, you can easily defend it.
Yeah, just opening makes sense to me. Opening the second rank for defense.
Stopping any knight g4s as well in the future, but yeah, mostly opening up. So black is down a pawn, as if you remember. So black has to find some sort of counterplay, like pretty quick. Otherwise, not. I mean, you're just gonna be down a pawn. You're gonna lose the game eventually in the end game. So let's see. So
to me, I don't always have that attitude though, because I feel like people go a little too far dynamically swashbuckling when they're down a pawn. You know, when Nathan's also a pretty strong endgame player, so you could try to just aim for. Yeah, you can't get to a knight endgame, but you know that'd be just a loss. But it's not like a pawn down rook endgame is that trivial at club level. I feel like.
Oh yeah, it depends on the end game, but yeah. Wait a minute, we have g4 here. That's interesting. So of course, knight h4 does attack this, so I'm sure white has an idea. He's going to go back and trade the queens into an endgame, maybe. Right now, you're going to lose it. So I think he's going to. Knight b3 was a wasted move, but I mean, it doesn't matter now.
Yeah,
so,
to me, knight b3 really what's the whole idea with knight b3? Because the piece was already a lot better placed. You know, now it doesn't.
I'm not actually sure.
Because now it's just staring
a5. You can still play without it.
But I mean, it's just staring at all controlled squares. And right now it can jump to e4.
Yeah, it's not going anywhere.
So I'm not.
It was just a bad move. Let's see.
Maybe he wants to play d4 or something, but then why can't you just play d4?
Yeah,
anyways?
computer's saying moves like queen e4 and f4 are the moves that computer is suggesting.
Queen e4 seems kind of strange too. I mean, it's far away from the knight. Then maybe you're getting away from knight checks to your queen, but
you're queen here kind of, I guess, there's steps away from the attack.
Yeah, it's good.
But yeah, after knight b3, black is actually slightly better.
The knight takes three jumps to get to the queen there, but I like to just keep the flexibility. Like my queen might want to use that square, my knight want to use that square, unless I see something concrete. But yeah. Anyways.
Okay, so wait a minute. So black after knight b3 should have been better with. Okay, actually no. The computer is okay. It's back to equal. It's pretty much back to equal. After knight h4, now black is better apparently.
Yeah, it seems risky.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, because yeah. Oh, wait a second. Yeah. So after knight d2. Black can actually get another. Black is better because after this move, which he was played, just attack the pawn one more time. Now you actually can't defend it, so you have to play queen g3 and give up the pawn back. War structure.
Yikes. Yeah, g4. I don't know what the.
One more attacker. Yeah, g4 was just a bad move.
Just,
Knight b3 was slightly bad, making it equal, and now g4 was just a blunder.
But also just knight b3 is like, what's going on? So it just feels like total drift.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to say. It's just you need to like find solid moves, like solid and good. Black didn't really have a threat, so you didn't need to bought anything. So it's kind of surprising that this happened. But yeah,
chess is cruel.
Only move is to trade.
Turns around. But this is kind of what makes chess fun, though. Is every game's pretty dramatic. Always got chances to come back and makes it exciting.
Okay, well, I'm going to move on to the next game. So far, that one seems pretty settled. Black is better. We have Dane Zagar, who lost a pawn in the beginning. Who lost a pawn on d4 after some changes. Slight blunder. But let's see how this game ended. Queen to b4, trying to attack the queen, attack this pawn. Straight counterattacking this one. For defending the pawn and attacking the bishop, and now still attacking this pawn. The moves, and now queen takes b2, so Dane basically lost another pawn. This knight is attacked. Okay, c1, yeah, it looks very, very shaky. All the pieces are on the wrong squares. No control. Nowhere to go. Attacking one more time, developing a piece and attacking. Always nice. Knight a4 on the edge. It's not really going anywhere, so I wonder if it's just trapped. And there's also queen sack for 2 pieces, which might be interesting, but that's not necessary.
Yeah, I would never do that if I'm, already.
I checked on the computer briefly. It does say, taking is okay because you're getting a lot of activity into the position. Maybe knight e4. Now you're attacking this. e4 is one of the moves. Knight f3 is one of the moves. Yeah, I was looking at this knight g5.
To me, even if it's winning, though, it just feels like
knight e4.
Bad technique. Like, you're already.
Oh no, this is top moves from the computer.
Yeah, I know, but still,
it's actually the good technique because you're attacking and you're bringing the pieces in. And after f4, for example, you got moves like this. The knights are coming in, and after something like this, or where it is, I wonder. Obviously you have just knight f3 attacking things, and it's completely winning.
But you know how chess goes. You miscalculate one thing, and that's that. And you were just up to 2 clean pawns for no counterplay. So I get it, but
converting it to a win, converting it to a straight win, if you're able to calculate all that, it's obviously very good. You calculate till the end, and you can just look at all the moves, see if there's anything you missed. But yeah, I feel like queen b4, it's just a trap knight anyway. So takes, row d1. You lost a knight.
Yeah,
okay, so there's a counter.
I like that saying.
Counter attack here because if you take.
Oh yeah, ouch. That happened.
But of course, you just get the rook out first.
Total tragedy game on Thursday. The guy was totally winning and hung a piece that hung a fork to his rook. Went from totally up a piece to down lethal material.
Wow. Yeah, that's pretty annoying. But yeah. So of course this fork didn't happen. There was a check. Now white is down a full rook. And unfortunately there's no square to check. All the squares are covered. Of course the knight can always block. Okay, I guess Dane Dane blundered his queen. What?
No,
I don't know, but anyway, Dane lost.
He's doing the blitz trick. It's just a last ditch trick, right? You check the king.
Yeah.
You check the king and you hang your queen on pre to something, and you hope they play knight g8 and hang their own rook. And
And even then, black might still
that would be
win.
the biggest tragedy in chess if that trick actually works in a classical game.
No. The biggest thing here is if black did that, black would still win this.
Yeah, that would be.
You do that just to win this position and still make it like rub it in.
Yeah, no, I feel like if Dane plays, if I was sitting there with black and Dane had just played queen c8, you got to just like sit there and like think for a while, like and then take the queen or something. No, maybe not, but hover your hand over the knight like you're gonna actually touch it, and then just actually take the queen.
Yeah. I was thinking about something like that. Like actually at the World Open, I was like, I saw I think one of my opponents was like a complicated endgame. I was like, oh, I can't do this because he'll check me and then fork me. I was like, okay, I'm gonna move the piece. I'm gonna hover like I'm gonna take it, but I'm not gonna do it. But then I realized later, like a couple moves later, that I'm stupid because after the check, I could have moved somewhere else and would have been I would have saved the game if I would have done that, and I ended up losing it. I was very, very sad at myself for not seeing like two moves. Yeah, World Open, I was playing so bad. I was blundering a few things. Like it was very annoying.
See,
I mean, I wasn't playing too bad, but it's just I was just missing a few things in some key moments.
well, the World Open the year before, you went on a total tear, so I can't do that every year.
In 2016, I won 8 out of 9.
Yeah.
8 out of 9, and the ninth one I didn't even play.
Yeah, can you guys imagine that? The money round, you don't even have to play. No stress because, don't have to play that huge round for huge money. Dane is actually pretty good in those big money rounds. So it's probably the fact that he wasn't playing for $5,000 prize that he lost this final round. But, when it comes to the big national tournaments, then he saves his clutch factor.
Yeah, I mean, I probably just got lucky back then, but that's not going to happen all the time. Okay, so this is what we looked at before. King g7 happens, rook h8. And of course, trading those rooks and now bringing the other rook in one move. And now it's not white who's attacking, it's black. Oh yeah, so we have this move. Now, I see that it's possible to take this free pawn, but I'm sure there's a tactical trick somewhere here. Yeah, I think after bishop c8 attacking the queen is basically trapped, and if you take here and the bishop comes back, now you're going to lose the knight. Well, you can't take that pawn, so it's like a tactical defense. Okay. So we have queen c8. I guess maybe lining up something here. Or I'm not sure. We'll see. We'll see what the trick was. Bishop a6. Takes. Yeah, now we have, after this capture, yeah, this is very good, because after this capture, we have bishops of opposite colors. And if there's anything to know about bishops of opposite colors, that in the endgame, they're drawish against each other. But if you're in the middle game, it's amazing for an attack, because these squares, they're not going to be defendable by this bishop at all. So bishop b2 trying to come in, rook g3 having to defend this. I wonder if there's any way to forcibly get this bishop on this diagonal, like maybe rook h3 first, but then queen e1. Hard to say, but let's see what happens. The rook h5 threatens queen h8 to come over here. Maybe something like this. Maybe a route like this might be.
Instead of rook h5, is maybe f4 possible with the idea of rook h3.
Yeah, but if you trade much, rook h3, I mean, maybe something like
bishop f3 because you get x-rays. But yeah, It's
Yeah,
not
but
that aggressive
f3
to
is
say.
not going to be good by itself.
Yeah.
So you need something extra. Getting the bishop
And
on this
I imagine
diagonal is just a start.
it's impossible, but I also imagine at the end they're playing queen takes g3 and then mating them on h1 with the rook. But obviously the queen can't access g3. But
Yeah, it's far-fetched. For now, you're just going to have to develop normally and develop an attack slowly. So let's see how this went on. King g1. I'm not sure the idea may be stepping away from my check, but I feel like queen to queen. Actually, yeah, queen to g1 maybe would have been helpful. I'm not sure. G2 is now the only move to defend this pawn. Now the bishop gets on the f3 square.
ooh,
Oh, okay. Yeah, so if you play rook f2, well, if you move the rook up, you're gonna lose this pawn. Well, I'll just play it on the board. You're gonna lose this pawn. If you move the rook the other way, you're gonna probably give up a check here. You're gonna get mated. So you can't move the rook, basically. So he has to give up the rook, and now it's pretty much a cleanup time. Black just needs to find a way in or a way to push forward and attack enough. So for now, he defends this pawn and makes a threat of rook g5. And white played bishop e1 in the game. So white's hope is that the bishop will solidify everything and black can't get in, but black will literally eventually be able to get in with like moves like this, f6. Just black will have enough time to find a way in. So it's just going to be a slow death for white.
well, this one looks pretty well played by Kyler.
Yeah, very, very good. He did his research on how to against the bird and against the stone wall attacks. So
yeah, actually,
very
I
nice
like
for
it.
him.
Now that you point out that was the opening, I like it even better. I always like to see a dubious opening get punished, but it's fine to play him now and then. But I'm on the side of the solid players, firmly.
Okay, so in this game we looked at we ended over here after queen c7, and black had a good opening and got the bishop there in a pleasant position. So rook d8, b6. Now I wonder about bishop f5 at first glance to try to pin, but maybe there's like bishop knight h4. If like bishop f5, maybe knight h4 will kick it off. Least, or at some point. Okay, b6. Okay, actually the point of b6, I guess, is to stop knight c5. He develops the bishop there. Okay, so this attacks this pawn, kinda. I mean, if you take it, you get trapped with b3. Well, queen b1. I mean, defending, I guess, in any case. h6. Bishop f1. Takes, bringing the other rook in. Takes. Now black has the d file, though. So, okay, a3, getting this pawn out of here, so you might be able to play moves like queen d3, taking back, or fighting for the file. d5, centralizing the queen, having a lot of options to places to go to, and maybe possibilities of pushing pawns here, maybe threatening bishop f5 actually as well. Fighting for squares. We've got knight e5. This attacks the queen and attacks the knight, and if white tries to trade the queen simply, black will have this in-between move. Recapture now, the structure is very bad, as well as having the two bishops. Black should be much better. So white takes instead, and black takes with the queen. and this is where we are in the game. Black is still slightly better, but nothing really crazy happens. So black will still need to try to convert this somehow to the white solid position. So it's gonna be quite a challenge, but with time, black can find a way.
Yeah, they got the clean pawn, plus they got the bishop pair in the endgame. Pawns on both sides. Plus look at the players. We got a master playing the black pieces who's kind of shown earlier in the game. He's got positional class. I'm sure he's studied his endgames and knows how to use that bishop pair in the endgame.
His main idea is to see if the queen can somehow get in and attack this pawn and these pawns. If this pawn moves or falls, then this pawn is hit. This pawn is weak. So that's probably what I would say is his best bet, is to find a way to the pawn structure here. This pawn structure is very well defended, so it's going to be hard to anywhere unless you somehow break. But it's kind of hard to get an attack going now with so few pieces. So I think his idea would be to try to get queenside play. But yeah, it's going to take a long time. He's going to have to kick some pieces out, control all the squares, and find a way to get in. It's going to be a challenge.
Yeah, it looks to be one of those positions like, an endgame guy would just be savoring, like, oh yeah, I'm gonna crush this thing, and a swashbuckling attacker is gonna be like, oh man, this is annoying. How do I close this thing out? I don't know how to use this bishop pair. But
true. But yeah, at least black has time to chill, and every move is okay. You just gotta eventually get to a good one to attack. Okay, let's move on to the next game. We left off this game over here with knight b5. I did say that yes, white does win a pawn. So white does get the opening advantage. Wait a second. What happened here? He lost a knight. I guess black just lost a knight for some reason. 6 and not h5 or something. What is going on?
Touch move.
Yeah, I mean, that was just, I don't know if the wrong, seems like, take the knight. You're not going to play rook here. You're going to take back, or if this knight would be attacked, he would have to move very soon. So I don't know. Maybe just blunder a knight. This is not a blunder of a bishop because of the back rank. So knight h4 threatens this pawn and also stops rook to d1, so it threatens the bishop now. 5 counterattacks and defends. There. Okay, so now f4 attacks the knight and makes room for the king. Bishop is also attacked, so it's basically a double attack here. Bishop d4 takes, and now white is up 2 pieces instead of 1, so it's just... Okay, I guess not, because you lose this knight, but he's still up a piece, and now this passed pawn will get through. Okay, g4, just completely shutting in the rook. Or, I guess trying to, but the point is that the e-pawn will be promoting. Okay, and that's checkmate, so I don't know, I guess black just blundered a knight somehow. I don't know, maybe he split the piece the wrong number of squares and he wasn't paying attention. I don't know, but that was just a sad game.
It looks like, okay, I saw that UV's game finish. We should maybe look at that, but it looks like
did?
There's actually board 2 is getting pretty crazy too. If we want to jump back there after.
Oh yeah, we'll be looping back very soon. So, okay, so after 94 is where we left off last time, threatening maybe h4. I mean h7 h4. That was the threat. And we saw that knight d4 was a possibility. We saw that maybe bishop b5 was a possibility to put a square on of the bishop here. d2 was the other possibility, so that's what ended up happening in the game. And remove this attacker. d6. Takes, castles, castles. And we have a bunch of trades. And now we're left off with the black structure being very, very powerful, controlling a lot of squares. White structure is very timid and soft and not very threatening. So black's the one pushing for the win. But I guess white has the bishop pair, or like the bishop versus knight, but I think it's very hard to attack something here. You need open lines. So unless you play something like f3, something like h4, or some sort of attacking move to get your pieces in, this bishop's not going to be very useful. Okay, so I think this thing from the DGT board, rook d3. What probably happened was the black took, and so we're gonna have a knight endgame. But yeah, this is probably not the right position.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens there. Or maybe they agree to a draw. Who knows?
Yeah, I could see them.
But I don't know if but I can see Puig trying to win this endgame too. Whoops. I can see this endgame trying to.
Their clocks are ticking again. I don't know. They're probably still playing because also.
Okay, we'll see.
UV plays every week on the DGT board, so he knows how to register the results if they actually had finished.
Okay. We'll go to Sam's game. So we left off Sam's game over here. Yeah, so here we said that the best move is for black to take this knight, which is putting so much pressure, trying to chip in here. Sam decides to play queen f7, though, the other move that I was considering, in both pawns, and not getting hit with bishop h3, but this was slightly worse because now, yes, white again has this plan of f3, but white doesn't do it. I guess white is a bit scared of committing to something, which is always a problem when you're playing such strong players. But we have queen to d1 attacking this pawn, h4, queen to h5. So I guess white was worried about an attack from black. So he decides to try to trade the queens, but in reality, white was the one who had the best chance of attacking black with the center. So over here, after clearing the forcing moves, I guess. Let's see. So yeah, so now it's black who's a little bit better because he has a better structure, and this knight's still trapped.
So why can't you just
knight g6, I think.
f3 coming up soon.
Now f3 loses the pawn.
Yeah, so now you can't.
I mentioned this last time. You do lose this pawn, so f3 is not as good.
Yeah,
so now you don't have many ways to. Wait, what was that?
My current positional understanding too is just that you straight up cannot allow a knight like that to persist the entire game. Like, you need to kick it somehow.
Chance back earlier in the game, but I guess he was a little too scared of black's attack. Of course, black is a strong player, so it's hard for you to make some concrete decisions like f3 going for e4 earlier on. Well, a5 kind of stops this knight from going literally anywhere. And actually, this is where we are in the game after a3. I guess maybe a4 was also one possibility to open up the rook, but after a3, if a4, I guess you can play b4. But another thing I'm wondering is what if black, if black has enough time, I guess you could try to get the king in to attack this knight. The only problem is that white has another rook to defend it. But what about then this rook coming here? Like, is this a thing, like this rook attacking this knight? Maybe this rook attacking this knight too. I don't know. Like, if you can find a way to hit this knight enough times, you're winning it. So I wonder if that's how Sam's going to win eventually. Obviously, maybe not now, but that would be a long-term plan, is how to hit this knight. Okay, anyway, we're going to move over to board 2 for now. We'll see where this goes. Okay, so in this game, we were looking at this position where black has knight g6, as the computer suggested, and he has a lot of counterplays. So this is what happens. White plays g3 to stop this knight from coming in. Okay. Black plays e4, which is the best move, and now e3 is coming, and the king is getting caught in the center. So bishop takes a6, e3, and now the king, even if he castles now, you're getting a split open. So I choose this f4. I wonder if castling, is it that bad? So after takes, I mean, if king takes, there's just, I'm sure there's something going on. It says king to g2 or something, but let's say king takes. Oh yeah, there is queen f6, right? There's queen f6 and not a good position. Is there something concrete? Nope, just queen e5, and you're starting to attack. So okay, still not easy though. But anyway, it chooses to play f4, and we have bishop 4. Okay. Oh, black did his job to stop white from having a comfortable castled safe position after this pawn grab. And white is trying to push black's pieces back, so this is as good a time as any to look for some sort of sacrifices to get inside and hit this king. But 4 makes sense as something to look at. Obviously, I didn't calculate this. I'm just seeing this for the first time. The computer's saying... Okay, hopefully I'm not lagging, but the computer's saying moves like bishop f6, queen c7, or bishop h4 even. So I don't think it agrees with the sack in this form. But actually, it wasn't in the top moves, but this is actually apparently still fine. Wow. Yeah, this is a pretty crazy position, actually. Very hard to judge, because there's so many ways that black can try to enter and create some threats in the position. It's just very difficult to actually calculate all of them. Like right now there's knight d7, and what's black gonna do? Black's probably trying to play queen to d4. That's my first guess. Queen to d4 to d2. Okay, so we have a castling. So we have a castling on move 27. I wonder, was this... Okay, was queen f6 the right move though? Yeah, queen f6 was a move. And castling is the correct move.
Yeah, looks like
e2 is the
kind of breaking the opening rules and starting to get kind of punished for it.
Yeah, e2 only move here, so this is again the only good move. Of course, your knight is attacked, and it's hard to defend it. After you might be able to second takes g3 and then taking that and promoting move. So that's what I'm looking at. I wonder if that's what would happen at first glance. So actually let me just turn on the engine just so I took with the queen, but if rook takes, yeah, rook g, what I was thinking, yes, it is winning. Took, and now black gets the rook with check g6. So white right now has 2 pieces for a rook. Usually better, but in this case, white's king is so open and there's so many lines and so many attacks happening that it's going to be very hard to actually use these 2 pieces. And of course, these 2 pieces are way far away from the action. So king h2, rook to e8, rook to 8, setting up rook to e3, just attacking this pawn, and there's almost no defend it. We have rook f2, Now, for the one I was looking at was rook g1. I wonder if rook g1, maybe there's just rook c2 in that case. And maybe something like queen h5 and trying to get in. It's hard to say exactly where white will get in, or black will get in, but actually, yeah, let me see. If rook g1. Okay. I missed something. I missed something obvious. Actually, if you haven't looked at this, I guess it would be a good puzzle for you. It's pretty simple. What black do here?
Can we go rook c2 check, king h1, queen takes? Nope, the bishop can block at the end. I was thinking of doing a ladder mate there.
No, there's something actually a little bit simpler and very forcing.
Yep, I haven't been doing my daily tactics puzzles lately. Just studying my openings.
So that's the thing about tactics. You don't know when they're gonna come up. But yeah, after considering this move, it's gonna become obvious. It's just rook takes h3, removing the defender, and getting it. So that's much easier. So rook g1 doesn't work because of that. So rook f2 was played. You have rook to e4. Okay, attacking the queen.
Yeah. And actually, rook f2.
I wonder e3. I wonder about this one.
Well,
I guess it's gonna be bishop f1. I think the idea is bishop f1 here. e4. Okay, so
yeah, rook e4 was, according to the engine, rook f2 was a blunder, and rook e4 is the only punishment. So Arvin looks like
let me see here. Yeah, it says
about to clinch a huge upset here.
So queen g4 was the way for white to hold on, which is very easy because you have to look at all the moves. You have to know exactly. You think of the threat as rook e3, so you want to make room for bishop f1. Let's say if you see that after rook g1, there's rook h3, rook f3. There's maybe like rook c1 or rook e1 or something. It's hard to say. You have so many moves to look at. And so many like things to worry about. There's rook e4, there's rook e3, there's rook c2, there's like queen coming in, like too many things. And then queen g4 is the only move, or I guess the only move. But yeah, rook e4. Now the queen cannot stay to guard g3. Okay, so now actually, I'm gonna. Well, first of all. We're gonna try to find the best move for black. Oh, wait, do you have the engine on?
Yeah, I did look at the game.
Okay. Wait, don't tell me. I'm gonna try to do a little exercise, try to find the engine, the best moves, or try to walk you through my thought process. The first thing I'm noticing is the queen f7 is gonna be possible problem, threatening. Like if you don't do anything, queen f7 will literally just be at least a draw. The problem. So if you're going to do something, you have to do something fast and hard, like rook to e1 or rook to c1, and other moves will have to defend this basically. So other moves like rook e5 and rook f4 definitely not on my radar. They're too slow. Or actually, wait, rook e5. I mean, it's not. Okay, I just don't want to think about this right now. So I'm gonna look at, let's say, rook c1 first. So let's say rook c1. So white can block with either bishop f1 or rook f1. Let's say rook f1 first. If rook f1, maybe they're after rook to e1, threatening this rook. It looks like. Actually, wait a minute. You got to worry about the queen f7 thing. So maybe you have to take first. Now, if you take with the queen, there's rook e1, so you have to take with the bishop, and then it should be like something like rook f4, and I feel like black is just surrounding white so much that it's going to be very difficult to defend this position. There's bishop g2 here, but I guess rook f2. Yeah, it's going to be very difficult for black to defend this. So rook c1 looks
one detail there. You could play rook f4. If you play rook block, no, you can just play rook f4 immediately.
Yeah, okay. If rook f4 immediately, yeah, I guess it does stop this. Rook f4, yes, it is a stronger move. Sure.
Engine style.
But yeah, I was gonna look at bishop. Yeah, I was gonna look at bishop f1 as well. So that's the thing I was kind of trying to get to as well. Bishop f1. So still threatening the f7 pawn. Now let's see. We have to look at some forcing moves. So rook f1, rook f1. I don't see any more forcing moves for black right now, so probably not that. What can black do though? Not so easy.
Yeah, it's also a rough time. It's a rough time situation for Arvin too. He's way down on the clock.
Okay. I hope the time is not going to be the decider.
Trying to find these critical moves on less than.
Okay, so then I'm going to look at rook e1 first. Yeah, so I'm going to look at rook e1. Well, my rook f3 is kind of the same. I'm going to look at one right away and see if there's any differences here. But I don't really see it because, yeah, I mean, this pawn is still under attack. So unless you have to play a quiet move like this, and then try to play rook c1, this works, which you have to think about very carefully. But it looks like all the entry points are defended. It might actually work to just play a safe move like f6, and then play rook c1, and then you're just winning the bishop. But of course, you have to consider this. You gotta think about it a little more carefully. So. Yeah, so that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, there's.
Okay, now I have to go.
It's total engine nonsense because.
Yeah, there is also of course there is also queen takes h3 to look at, and you have to something like this. You have to just judge the end game. Is black better? Is black not? It's a whole different story, but it's still you have to think about it very carefully. So let's see what happened in the game. Or actually, let's see.
I'll tell you quick. You don't have to suffer your performance because I already looked at it on the side. But there's only one winning line, and it's total computer nonsense. So it goes.
Wait a second. I see that the rook c1 here. Computer says rook c1 and rook h4. Actually, rook h4.
But you got to hang.
Rook
you got to hang queen f7 check and then move your king to h6. So like.
But the thing is, the problem was that the perpetual was the problem, right?
Now queen f5 check and king h6. I mean, there's no way.
But yeah, okay.
Come on, if you're playing in a practical.
And after this.
Yeah, you're playing a practical game. You see, you see queen takes f7, and you dismiss the line there. So.
No. Actually, I don't think I would, because I see the problem with queen takes f7 is the perpetual. There's no like threat, but after rook h4, which I didn't I didn't see yet. But after rook h4, you do stop the perpetual, so you do have to still look at the checks and see if you and more checks. So actually, it's not impossible to find, but I would just have to look at rook h4 and then realize that h5 is not a perpetual anymore.
But also imagine.
Okay.
Under 5 minutes on your clock, you can't you play.
With 5
minutes
like that, and it's almost impossible.
And then you worry way too much that queen takes f7 somehow losing, or at least successfully perpetuating, and you're like, why do that when I can just make another move that continues to you don't know when you're playing that there's only one line in one moment. It's looking super
Yeah,
dangerous
that's
still.
yeah, it is. It is pretty difficult, and with 5 minutes, it's very, very, very difficult to find all those moves because you have to look at the first things to look at are the rooks checking, the rooks sacking, like that. But yeah, then you have to look at what other options you have. Like, it just takes so much time.
Yeah,
So
but
I can understand. So this will happen in the
and
game. Now white is safe
yeah, now White is
and
actually
white seems to be
now White's probably going to push with this a pawn
better.
and
Yeah, white.
do the end game grind thing. But this was honestly so impressive by Arvin because Andrew was 300 points high rated, and he's kind of doing a bit of a contempt opening, underdeveloping, and Arvin understands the correct punishment for it is full on counterattack and went for it. Actually, had a moment where he's totally winning on the board. So how often do you even get a moment when you're totally winning against a player plus 300 rated? So Arvind obviously, especially as black, playing a great tournament, played a great game. We'll see how it closes out, but
Yeah, I'm pretty sure white's gonna win. It's
yeah,
the two pieces, two passed pawns, getting attacked insane plus so. Yeah, white's gonna win this for sure. But yeah, I would actually be even more upset if I lost a position where I was winning like that because I'd be spending my time really trying to find the winning line there.
well, you can see the strategy. It actually worked out pretty well for Andrew too. It's not the strategy I would choose, but you can take some risks like this, and you're probably going to give your opponent maybe a chance here or there. But if they don't find the super narrow path, then you have all the positional trumps. So yeah, it's just I think a well
Hmm.
played game by both players where they kind of both took up the gauntlet of what their role was in the game based on the dynamics going on.
True. Well, sad game though. But yeah, let's move on to the next one. Board three. It looks like we have a decisive result. Actually, yeah, we actually okay. So we were left off at all the exchanges here. Okay, so Nathan Hoover got the upper hand with a good rook. So and a few pawns. So right now it says -1 from the brief second I turned my engine on. But white is getting some counterplay with that a pawn. Like, what is this? Let the pawn promote what? So white won because that pawn was just unstoppable. Well, I think this is probably one of the key positions. So it's e. Okay, computers, by my brief analysis, saying e4 to try to break open the structure and after takes takes. Now these pawns are much more easier, much getting caught behind. I guess moves like this and rook d4 were just too slow. This pawn gets too many tempos. Now it's winning for white. Still hear me?
Yep, I can hear you. Sorry, I stepped away for a second.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, that was a pretty sad end for Nathan over there. He was much better. He just made it too slow. Just too slow. So let's see how this game ended here. We have some trades. Yeah, now the king is getting in, and there's just not going to be a easy way for white to defend.
Yeah, the nice thing about these, uh, there's a very clear
Yeah,
way
like
to
this.
there's a very clear way to I think win these rook against bishop endgames. You're basically eventually going to have to sacrifice the rook for the bishop. So you just kind of maneuver around until you get a totally winning pawn endgame that you know for sure is definitely winning with no tricks. And if there's any possible tricks, you just don't sacrifice the rook yet, and you just wait and you engineer a better pawn ending.
Yeah, that's the thing. In this
and-
position, I mean, if white could hold on, actually, if white could skip moves, this might be a draw because the rook can't get in and the pawns can't get through either way. So maybe it's a draw if white skips moves. But of course, he's in Zugzwang, so he has to move the king out of the way and let black's king in. Or the rook sack, you're just losing all your pawns, and it's an easy win.
Yeah, I think this is actually an interesting positional concept too of why rooks are better than bishops, and also kind of indirectly why I think bishops are slightly better than knights usually. It's because usually, like, when you get to a position like this, the bishop just ends up sitting there and the rook can take it at any moment, and that's just the best. That's the best the bishop side can do, is basically, so white, the rook side always has the option to take the bishop, but the bishop doesn't have the option to trade for the rook at any moment, and so that extra option just adds a ton. And if you think about a more conventional position with maybe like a knight on e5 and a bishop on g7, not only is that bishop a long range piece, but now for every move, as we continue going, we know the bishop is better than the knight. He doesn't really want to trade for that knight on e5, but he has that extra option. You can throw that in as part of tactics. And so it's just way more common that a bishop has a chance to take a knight, or a rook has a chance to take a bishop for like 15 moves in a row, and that extra option just is so powerful for engineering tactics or endgame wins.
Yeah, that's the good point. That's the difference between all these pieces. That pieces give you the option and some don't. Having more options is just usually better because you get to choose whether or not it's good, and if it's not good, then you don't have to do it. All right, let's move on to the next game, and let's see here. This is the game where black got a slightly better position, got the two bishops, and we're in the endgame. And black's job, I thought, was try to attack these pawns. Let's see what happens. So black goes straight in for an attack. White defends. And this is where we're at right now, actually. There's not much else going on. Black needs to find another way to put pressure, so that seems to be the hard part, though. These pawns are very solid. This bishop cannot get to them. I wonder if you're going to have to bring the queen back somewhere and use these pawns to break the structure up.
I mean, I don't love the idea of trading a pawn, but
hard to say.
It feels like you need to increase the scope of your bishops, and then as long as you can maintain one pawn on the queen side.
It's going to take a lot of time, though. You're saying queen c1, but of course you need a plan. Maybe bishop b3 and bishop d1, actually. Yeah, now that I think about it, maybe some sort of bishop attack will destabilize this queen. Maybe that's another plan.
Which we gotta also look at what bishop they're missing. They're missing their dark square bishop, so how do we use these dark squares besides just camping our bishop on g7 forever?
Yeah, but that's the thing. This pawn structure makes it so hard to use the dark squares. There's literally nothing to attack. So this light square bishop might actually have...
Why can't we try like bishop f8 and bishop c5 to try to provoke?
Okay, you could just... Yeah, it's a better place for the bishop, sure, maybe, but still need an extra piece to attack f2, though.
This is a good example. Look, we're obviously not really even considering playing bishop takes d4, but it's still got the option. And so you can tell, when somebody's sitting there arguing, I love knights, knight's my favorite piece, it's just so much rarer that the opposite situation happens. The knights, when they get a chance to take those bishops, usually gobble them instantly, unless they see it has no escape, and then they'll wait until they have to do it because it has a retreat square or something, and then they'll finally take it. So it's just kind of funny to me. It's like, it's clearly like, well, if knights are better than bishops, then why aren't you just snapping those all the time?
Yeah. Well, here I was thinking of... Oh, this did happen. Yeah, bishop d5, and now you have options like f3. Create some weaknesses, but of course you need more help later on. So we'll see how this game ends. But for now, we're going to move on to the next game. Okay, so in this game, nothing happened. I guess they must have agreed to a draw or something. Yeah, there's no so
Yeah. I will be
there's only
shocked.
3 games left.
I won't be shocked if they traded rooks and
Okay, really 2.
agreed to a draw.
Yeah, there's actually only 2 games left now. It's this endgame with the 2 bishops and then Sam's game. So let's see how Sam's
Oh.
game went. We left off here after a3. Sam played a4. Okay. And bishop on the diagonal. Treated. Slowly bringing the pieces in with the rook. Okay, so he finally decides to take this one. Because I guess there's no way to defend d5. Take it some way. And if you take it with a knight, then you have the same problem as the other game where this bishop is pretty good. It just has no targets because these pawns are blocking him out. So bishop was the choice that he made. Yeah, if you take with a g pawn, there's probably moves like knight h4 or knight f3 or something like that. The squares are too weak, so you have to take with the e pawn. Okay, so now we see another plan for black is to play the knight on c4 and put pressure on the weak pawn. At c4 you can play bishop c1 and still keep a defense of everything.
The bishop's just a nightmare. It's like a big pawn.
Yeah, this bishop. Yeah, the bishop has nowhere to go because all the pawns are on the same squares.
It's like a
so we have the knight on b5.
Strategic masterclass going
on. Exactly. And actually, wait a minute. That's where we're here. We're left at knight to b5, which actually puts pressure on these 2 pawns for later attack, but also defends the pawn on c7 in case this knight wants to move anywhere, but then this knight cannot move anywhere. Both of these pieces are actually trapped, and black, I'm sure, has unlimited time to actually win this knight. Now that I see, like, if you play king e6, king d7, and then rook e6, this... Okay, I guess the knight has b8, but then you get to chase it. You can't really attack it, and you can't really attack it right away, actually. There's no way to do it. Wait a sec, if knight here, then the knight's trapped. But yeah, actually the knight's surviving, surprising. I thought the knight would be trapped, but the knight can between b8 and d8 so far, so... Wow, that's pretty surprising, but I guess white's not going to lose a piece.
Yeah, this has got to be a stressful game for white, though.
But of course...
Sitting there with a knight on c6 the whole game and having to just constantly calculate a million variations where you're losing it.
Yeah, but...
to find only moves.
And I think the biggest problem for white is that he's stuck. Moves. So black gets pretty much an extra rook and an extra knight, the knight on g6, to literally go wherever he wants. Actually, like look at this plan. Let's say like knight h8, knight here. Like if you get unloads and the other knights, now this knight's actually trapped and dead, and these pawns are gone. So that could be an actual plan, because you have unlimited time.
It reminds me of some like dream Nimzo position, even though it's not even close to that pawn structure. But it's like, what happens to white if they end up with this terrible bishop in certain Nimzo structures? It's just like, oh man, it's like material's equal, but it's like -2 for no great reason besides piece activity.
Oh yeah, I turned on the engine and saying -2, but more importantly than that, it's saying that king e6, knight h8, king knight f7, stuff like that. That literally is the top line of the computer. So that is the actual plan. And I don't see how to stop it.
Yeah, so this one's looking pretty good. Also on the clock, looking pretty good. So Sammy looking in good shape to do his usual 5-0 thing. not even giving up a draw
Mhm.
potentially. So definitely a worthy
So we're going to move on to the
state
next
champion
game.
right now.
So in this game, with the two bishops, white plays knight to b5, attacking the pawn in a7, and black finds a breakthrough now that the knight has left with f3. Queen f5, attacking this pawn. Very difficult, because if you let the bishop in, it's pretty bad. And there's also most like bishop e5. So bishop g2 was played, but after queen f4, and I'm guessing bishop e5 or something. Or wait, is there just bishop c4 as well? Actually, wait, bishop c4 is. Oh wait, can you hear me? Wait,
Yeah, I can hear
I
you.
don't know if you're trying to say something.
No, bishop
Okay.
c4 looks great.
Yeah, bishop c4 was played. Yeah, forking this. The only move to defend is queen to
exit door
e8,
closed.
and after. Now you would wait queen f1, because now there's no bishop f1, because you can take it. To it like bishop e5, but you can't because the queen's covering. So why not play?
Wait, why can't you play bishop e5
first,
yeah,
and
exactly.
then? Yeah, exactly. So that's why I got to that move. So you play bishop e5,
but and now you're mate in 1 on h2.
Well, or 2. That's mate in 1. So yeah, you have too many threats actually, and you can't get out of them.
Let's
say b5. I don't see a way to get out of it.
Bishop c4, brutal, closing the door. So where was the blunder there? Because it looked pretty equal, not equal, but difficult, right? And now all of a sudden,
I think it was over here. When you play bishop g2, that's when I think, because I was thinking just bring the knight back, the queen, and defend the pawn, and maybe force him to take. But still got actually no. Even then, even knight d4. There's queen d4, for example, and then again bishop e5, and there's no way to stop mate.
Well, it also seems maybe like knight b5.
Maybe that wasn't even.
Maybe knight b5 is also drifting already. If you're in the wrong mindset, you need to just be turtling, not attacking a7.
Yeah, the computer either. You're saying one of these two moves, queen e3 or king to g2. You still pretty much have to give up this pawn.
I'm not even a tiny bit shocked this is how it's going, by the way, because bishop here, pawns on the opposite sides, broke. Look, now you had the potential to break his structure. We didn't even note that earlier, and look what happened.
Yeah, so this knight was the key, because it stopped all the pushes, all the trades. Really, this knight was the key. When it left, big problem. Computer says to just bring it back, or even f5 attacking the bishop. But other than like forcing move like queen b5 or knight f3 just staying put.
I think this is a classic mistake. People love to do something. Even if doing something is making your piece worse, or kind of reducing the coordination of your position. It's painful to make passive moves, like just shuffle your king or whatever, but if your pieces are already to their maximal, utilities place, I'm sure he was also nervous about maybe bishop takes d4 with queen takes follow-up, but at some point, maybe after, as far as getting, is probably also not comfortable with that dynamic. I don't love calculating bishop takes d4 every move.
I mean, I'll be okay with it.
Yeah. I feel like if you got
I'll be okay with it.
This is where a knight wants to be, on a centralized outpost.
It does cover everything still.
Yep. It's like can't really imagine, but easy to armchair too.
Yeah, sometimes
when we can
you just need to stay put. Yeah, because black doesn't have really a put. Like, it's hard to say what black's plan is. Maybe take here, the queen takes, the pawn takes. You get a bad structure, but the thing is, this is bishop of opposite color, so it's still very, very drawish.
Yeah, that's
like
still, now it's
this pawn is never getting attacked, and there's nothing else to attack him to get in.
Yeah, I don't think if black gives up the bishop here, they're losing their winning chances.
Yeah, so this is perfectly fine. So right now, black has literally no plan, really. Like, there's no easy bishop e1 or something, but there's no easy way for black to do anything. But after you move the knight, you just give black the chance. That's what happened, and that's game.
Ouch.
Okay, now the only game that's left is Sam. So Sam ended up playing king e6 and king d7. Of course, the pressure on the knight. And now after f5, attacking this knight, kind of forcing it to go plan of knight to h8 to f7, d6, and c4. So pretty much forcing white to, or forcing black to. Now the only thing you don't want to do is play knight f8, because after knight f8, it's much harder to bring the knight into a useful square. h7 doesn't do anything. You'd have to the king, and yeah, the knight has no squares from f8, so obviously knight h8 is the only move. There's 97. There's 97, yes. Computer does say 97, and then I guess you just have a lot of pressure on all the pawns, and this is still enough. Say just knight h8 would be like a cooler move to finish off the game, a cool plan. But we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Let me pull the standings up here just for a second, since we're getting really close to the end here. So from what I can tell, definitely not final until we see how it all shakes out and actually the final standings get posted. But it looks like we're gonna have a big tie for second. Let's assume this is assuming Sammy wins this game, of course. Definitely not a given. But it looks like we're gonna have Andrew, Daniel Deutsch, and Henry Hutton all in a shared 4-point tie for second. And we'll have Sammy in first. And then I imagine how the prizes work then is then they take, if there's a big tie for second, they take up the other spots and kind of consolidate the prizes. So sounds like those will be the main winners of this nice prize fund we have. Not sure what it ended up at, but I know we were projected some pretty high prizes. So yeah, we'll jump back to the game, but just wanted to kind of recap where we're at in the standings. And now we got the board back up.
Okay, so black just played knight h8, which was what I was thinking about, and with the plan of simply bringing the knight in and winning the knight. Bishop f4 was played here. Now, I'm not sure if there's a threat. I'm not sure if there's a threat with this move, like a threat, but I guess black can just take this pawn. Actually, wait, let me see. Okay, there is a threat, actually. There is a threat with bishop f4. Now, I guess we have time, so I guess you can try to find it if you haven't looked at the engine already.
I have not. But we've seen...
Okay, so...
We've seen the rest of my tactical vision today.
Okay, okay, yeah, so the threat... Okay, well, I guess white ready, which is a good move, but the threat here is knight... like, if black doesn't do anything, knight to a7... threatening this knight, and after knight takes knight, there's rook c7.
Yeah, finally using some little tactics to finally relieve that problem piece of its trapped status.
Yeah, but the only problem is that black can just defend the knight with the knight, or
at least you got to trade that
right,
knight
which
off.
knight? Yeah, either knight.
And you don't have to babysit it for the rest of the game anymore. Seems like a little win.
But it's still a bad position, though, unfortunately. Still winning.
But nice little move.
Even with the knight.
I'm impressed.
And you don't necessarily... I don't know if you have to trade. You can bring the other knight to d6, but...
Yeah, but
I try.
it looks
It's a
like
nice little
those are
tactic.
those are the only two good moves. So hey, you're at least giving Sammy
I
a
wonder about
chance to go
knight takes
wrong.
a3 though. Knight takes a3, which is not technically a bad move, but after knight to b8 and getting this rook to 7, it's actually much harder for black to convert. So knight takes a3 was not the right choice. So knight f7 is it for knight a7. All you have to do is CS to defend. Though you trade the knight, your pawns are going to fall.
All right, so let's do our final sponsors here, just to get them out of the way before the final moments of this game. So we'll just go through them real quick. I want to say a big thank you to both Roger Hale and Dan Voje, the namesakes of our tournament sections. Thank you so much for supporting the club in various ways throughout the years. Very much appreciated. And very well deserved namesakes of our tournament sections. Our next sponsor is Jonathan's YouTube channel, Ayrton Twig. You can see he's got over 1.5 million views, over 472 videos. Very successful channel of his own. So we aspire to be even a fraction as successful as he is, but also check out his YouTube channel. It's posted in the description. Thank you so much for commenting today. We really appreciate all your insights. And final sponsor.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah. Final sponsor here, the commentator yesterday, National Master Matt Jensen owns a company called ChessGoals.com. Simple chess courses for non-grandmasters. Learn complete repertoires in under 100 lines. So use coupon code CASTLE to save 30% on any courses. I am a customer myself. I purchased the Catalan course. They've got a private Discord, and Matt is in there answering personal questions about all the courses everyone has. So I see he's really hands-on and got a lot of support for the products they're putting out there. So definitely want to recommend Chess Goals. And thank you so much also to the viewers. We really appreciate you guys coming, watching the stream, supporting it, supporting live games at the club, and using the DGT boards to enable this kind of cool live commentary. So thank you so much for watching. Also to the viewers that are going to watch this later, hopefully some of the players themselves watch this. That's definitely an audience we have in mind, is the players themselves. Getting some nice analysis on their games. And if you guys want some analysis on your games from strong players, the regular event we have is the Thursday Nighter. So 6:30 p.m., classical games, very strong players. And we have regular commentary on the Thursday Nighter games. So come out to Thursday Nighter, check it out, and then check out the YouTube video afterwards, seeing some analysis on your game. But with that, we'll jump back to the board and close out here. Final game.
Yeah, so black is completely dominating the squares over here. Now the trick is you can't really take any of the pawns because you're going to lose c7, so I was thinking you can maybe just play c6. Rook e4 is of course just as good, just threatening to take it. Yeah, it's not much to say, just completely lost, and black will have enough time, like as much time as he wants to call the pawns and promote. To say, really.
Yeah, and I think, we can leave this up, but I think in general we might wind some of the streams down early. We don't have to stay till the final moment of every game. I mean, we were kind of scheduled till 6, and we did start the round half an hour early, but when it's kind of one game left and you're just watching them grind out an endgame, he's probably going to make it happen. We might end some of them early. Although we did get bit by that last night, though, because we ended it early, and then Sammy turned around a totally drawn position into a win. But that's also just kind of the nature we're going for. We're not going to cover minute 1 to the end minute of every round. We're going to kind of do some interim rounds and do some recaps, maybe sometimes end early, mainly because, we got all volunteer production staff. So we want to make sure that this is a fun thing for everyone and not kind of a second job. But so far, thank you so much, by the way, to all of our production staff and everyone who's helped out. So I'll just name a few people. I'm probably going to forget someone, but especially Jonathan, Matt, Connor Weatherly, who's been doing a ton of commentary and support, and then Nathan Hoover, who is huge help with the DGT boards and getting the broadcast set up so we have access to these games live from the club. Also, Dane Zagar has been very supportive, helping get. Sometimes we'll have live camera feed on. We didn't for this weekend, but we will on Thursdays on occasion. So thank you for everyone who is helping out with the channel. Also, Eddie Wasserman is a supporter of the channel as well. So coming on doing a lot of videos, and Chris Kalina. And I'm sure I'm forgetting some other people who have done some Game of the Weeks. But trying to build this into a huge community channel. Another idea behind it is, we all are sitting there in the playing hall. It's pretty much silent. We might chit chat a bit after the game's end, but it's hard to get to know everyone's personalities. So trying to get as many different people from the club on the channel as possible, so we all can kind of get to know each other's chess personalities. And yeah, so it's going pretty well so far. Thank you so much to all the supporters. Yeah, I think we'll.
Okay, so we have.
He does have 42 seconds left, so we might as well hang for a couple more minutes, just because, it's not so dry that they're both going to build up a bunch of time here or anything like that.
I see 0% chance the black will mess this up, though.
Yeah, this is just.
There's rook d3.
Especially you consider the
c6.
ratings, the time, the position. All these factors coalesce to how we can predict results in chess. And yeah, looks like Sammy is on his way to a very impressive 5-0 tournament victory. Also, definitely want to promote Sammy's tournament coming up, so let's actually get that promoted. So Sammy playing right now is also hosting a high prize fund tournament. There's a flyer for it right outside the castle door for the Gopher Open coming up this September. And Sammy is the tournament director. So that's going to be coming up Friday, September 17th. And has some pretty huge prize funds. Let me just... Okay, this is going to mess our feed up for a second, but let me go ahead and grab the flyer from that. Just a moment, bear with me. I want to get this flyer on the screen. Okay, we'll get his video fixed. Oh, it's got me where he was, unfortunately. All right. But just a moment, we're closing out here. You can see my PFP. I like my shark playing chess. And we're going to go over here to the standings page, get rid of the standings, and replace them with this Gopher Open details. All right, so we have on the screen the details for the Golden Gopher Open. It is third floor Kaufman, coming up $70 entry fee if you get it in before 9/1, and over $5,000 in projected prizes. So definitely going to be of the same stature as this tournament, or maybe even better if we're lucky. So definitely want everyone to check that out. And yeah, since our layout is a bit messed up here, and the game is so one-sided, probably going to end this a bit early here. But thanks again, everyone. And thanks again to Jonathan. We're going to end here.